Tigers Dave Woloshyn and Brett Stotts Norsworthy.
Good afternoon. Wednesday, July 8th, 2020. Day 103 without sports. We're back to sports tomorrow with golf. 2 weeks in a row at the Memorial. 3 weeks from tomorrow, the World Golf Classic FedEx St. Jude Invitational at TPC Southwind. And supposedly on schedule 3 weeks from tomorrow, opening night for baseball with 2 games that night. 4 weeks from tomorrow, the resumption of the NBA down in the Orlando bubble. College football, 52 days from now. We hope the scheduled start. Well, it is the scheduled start. We hope it goes off on the scheduled start with this breaking college football news that the Wisconsin-Northwestern game planned for this year at Wrigley Field will not be at Wrigley Field. It instead will be on the campus of Northwestern at Dike Stadium. And they may have a new name of that stadium, but it won't be at Wrigley Field now, but it will be on campus at Northwestern where Wisconsin and Northwestern are set to play. Not surprising because we know how cozy and intimate Wrigley Field that it is. And with the news today of your Baltimore Ravens, Drew Barrett, they're only saying 14,000 max this year.
I honestly think that's a good number. If you're going to put out a number at this point in this pandemic before we really have anything even close to set in stone, I think it's a good number to, obviously that's way below 50%, but it's a good number to say, hey, we're still planning on having fans, but don't get your hopes up. Don't think that we're going to have full capacity. Don't think that we're even going to have 50% capacity. Don't think we're just going to go all-season ticket holders. It's going to be about 14,000. That's what we're aiming at, and we hope to get that. So I think they set the bar at a reasonable mark.
Somebody's going to be told no around sports. Either no, you can't this week, but you can the next home game, or no, you can't at all this year, but we hope you come back next year, so we will see. We would like for you to be a part of this show. We know that. No limit on that. 360-8255. Come one, come all to the First Bank phone line or the First Bank text line at 67129. Carl Morris producing. You heard the voice of Drew Barrett. He's co-hosting with me. Dave will be back next Monday. We are Sports Time on AM 560, 87.7, 96.1. So many ways to listen to us and to reach us. We would love for you to do it and be a part of our show until 6 o'clock. It's just where we are in sports. If we have it, it's going to be limited for a while. Drew, it's up for grabs into next year without a proven, reliable vaccine that a great number of the population takes it and that it works for them. We could be talking limited numbers next year. We could be talking into a long time from now. Today at the Ryder Cup press conference, I thought the best question, and he is a great reporter on all things golf, Doug Ferguson of the AP. If you don't see his byline in a lot of newspapers, any kind of from whatever tournament, kind of in a generic form, I don't know if that's the right term, but Doug Ferguson is the guy for all that. And he asked the best question today, I thought, of the powers of golf. What gives you so much confidence for next year at the Ryder Cup in Wisconsin?
Yeah, that's the thing that we're all having to deal with is the big question mark of when will this finally be over. You talked about until we have a proven vaccine and we have enough of the population to actually take it. And that's another thing. We're having problems getting people to wear a mask. How much of a problem is it going to be to get people to voluntarily take off from work or go during the weekend to get a simple shot, to go to a doctor's office, to go to a Walgreens like you would go for a flu shot? It's going to be hard. And then you also bring in the wacky anti-vaxxing group, which they're not going to sway on their side if they haven't by now.
It's going to be their ultimate moment.
It will be.
This is going to be their Super Bowl.
But it's going to be the demise to the rest of us because we won't be able to have that, I'm not going to say herd immunity, but enough people having been exposed to the virus, enough people taking the vaccine to ultimately kill out the virus. And as the anti-vax movement kind of grows, and especially in this time it kind of has, then it's going to be a huge question mark to when anything does come back to normal. And you're exactly right. I don't know the future. I don't know if 2021 is going to be the year. You look back at some of other pandemics. We've always compared this to the Spanish flu of 1918. Well, it didn't just last in 1918. It was also going on in 1919 in some places of the world in 1920. It's not going to be eradicated just by the calendar turning over.
Yeah, go away. Go away. We've had enough of the COVID, and you're right. In many of the stories and reports from, I know people don't believe me, but I wasn't around for the Spanish flu. I didn't endure that. But 2019 actually, or not 2019, 1919 was actually worse than the first year. The dreaded second wave. And Dr. Fauci told us yesterday that this is no second wave, that we are still very much in the midst of a first wave. He also said, never mind those falling fatality rates. Well, do we look at all the numbers or not, or just the ones that we want to have the fear about? Because I think the falling fatality rates, it really matters. Isn't that the ultimate scoreboard?
I think it is. It's the ultimate scoreboard when it comes to how deadly is this virus, how afraid should we be. But it does not mean that we should not take it seriously, and we should not do everything in our power to prevent it,
to mitigate,
such as wearing masks out in public and trying to stay socially distanced within.
Wash your hands.
Washing your hands. Use Germ-X as much as possible. Don't hold large gatherings. No COVID-19 parties up in Kentucky anymore. Type of things. But I think that the falling death rate is a good sign, just due to the fact that now it shows that we kind of are starting to have an understanding and starting to figure out how to properly battle this virus.
I'm with you, Drew. I'm pretty sure it's a good sign. I know this categorically. The fatality rate going down sure can't be a bad sign.
No, it can't. It's always got to be pointing in the good and right direction.
And if we're going to cherry pick these numbers, and that's why, I wish so much. But again, novel coronavirus, brand new, and it has sent everybody for a loop for a long, long time. I referenced the Ryder Cup this morning. It will be one of a lot of announcements from sports postponed. It will get back on the calendar. It's really for a long time that it was more used to being on. It was an odd year event. 9/11 changed that. That following week, I think, was going to be the Ryder Cup, maybe 2 weeks after that, and that changed it. And the President Cup used to be an even-numbered year event, and now we're not going to have that. It's going to go back to odd. So things will change, and we'll try to change with it, and we've got a lot to talk about with you today. We do have a lot of golf to discuss today. Daryl Smith couldn't be with us yesterday. He's going to join us at 3:30, the executive director of the WGC FESJI. A long time he was with the FESJC. We look forward to visiting with Daryl at 3:30, 4 o'clock. John Goen from Timber Trust Golf for golf talk and picks. Drew, you are going next to last this week, as you won last week with Bryson DeChambeau.
It feels good not to go first.
And the $1,350,000 that went with that, you are now in second place behind John. I am a distant third, and Dave is a distant way back there fourth. Dead last. How sad, isn't it?
It's so sad. And
we lived to see it, didn't we?
He's going to come back and say that we rigged it, that it's our fault that he fell so far.
That'll make it even more sad.
It will be. He's just going to make up excuses. Because that's what Dave does.
And Dave's a really good person, but it will be strictly just rank accusations of a desperate man.
It will be, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing the different types of excuses that he's going to throw out. I mean, maybe go full on conspiracy that we decided that we paid off the players ourselves.
I don't know what it be, but once you go into conspiracy, go ahead and go with the wildest one.
You might as well just say it's all rigged. It's rigged against Dave.
I mean, if you're not going to give away a free T-shirt and hat, just say you're going to give away $1 million.
You might as well. I mean, if you say the moon landing was fake, you might as well believe that that's because lizard people live there and control our lives. I mean, if you're going to go one far step, you might as well go all the way into it.
Go all the way with it. 4:30, we talk the business of sport and all these restarts, including one not too far from him, Rick Haro in Palm Beach. He will join us at 4:30 to talk business of sport, and there's plenty of that. Force majeure, we joke about it. It sounds like a nice dish at a fancy restaurant, but it is one of the bigger things of this year. And for all these contracts, and particularly coaching contracts, you could have a school that was just really ready to get rid of someone. And I'm not even going to come up with an example who that might be. But right now, if that coach did anything kind of outside the lines, I think they could force them out under that clause right now.
I think they could too, and I'm actually a little shocked that we haven't already seen it with just the different things in society that has been going on the last couple of months that has not been brought up and has not actually been put into effect. And I will not be shocked if it comes any day soon.
It just can't be too far off. 5 o'clock, TJ Reeves joins us. He's good to join us every Wednesday afternoon. We will talk the NFL. We will talk golf with him. We'll talk the baseball restart by the Tampa Bay Rays in his market. Does it feel like we're 3 weeks out from tomorrow for the 2 opening games?
It doesn't to me, just due to the fact of and I know every sport is having their problems right now, but it just seems once again Rob Manfred in baseball figured out how to take the wrongs and mishaps to a whole different level, like he always does. And so I'm still
they're going to find it.
My percentages of them starting have not gone up any bit. If honestly, they probably even gone down 1% or 2%.
I'm not at the Buster Olney 5-0 to start and to finish. I'm a little more than that, but not much more. And I think you could see somebody, maybe even NBA, college or pro football, you could see a start, a stop, a long stoppage, and a restart. And then what would rosters look like?
I think the only 2 sports right now that could afford another stop would be the NFL or college football. I think if baseball has to stop again, the NBA has to stop again, then you're out of time. There's really no need to try it again, just due to the fact that you're coming up. You're basically running out of dates. There's no more room.
But I hear you, and I see the calendar, but the calendar it's infinite. There's not there's not an expiration date. Whether December 31st is the expiration date for 2020, but why not? Because as we were talking about earlier, there's no promise of next year or next month even. So why couldn't they have? Now I don't think it's real doable, but I don't know why they couldn't, because they're not hindered by, well, we got to get to opening day next year because we don't even know when that's going to be.
Yeah, but that is true. But especially for Major League Baseball, you got to think that if there is a restart, it's going to have to be in another bubble situation. And if the NBA has to wait on another restart, how comfortable is Major League Baseball and their Players Association going to be comfortable with a bubble situation where it has not really gone to plan for the NBA or MLS down in Orlando, and you're just going to basically run out of facilities?
And Drew, to quarantine those NBA players a second time, not a chance.
There's no
not
way
a prayer they would sign up to go back into that bubble after getting out of there once or go to another one. Baseball, it talked about the Phoenix Scottsdale plan, and Bruce Marshall very early on, if you'll remember, he said no way that's going to be able to work, or Vegas for baseball, because of the heat. Because of the heat on the players, not on burning out the virus, as we talked about yesterday, and so many of us have wanted. So you're right. Just because the calendar it goes on and on. It will change month, and it will change days, and it will change years, but it really is finite. It is not infinite, because at some point, if you don't get it in, and that was kind of discussed today at the Ryder Cup press conference and announcement, that if they don't get it in next year, then at some point you just pull the plug, and we didn't have the 2020 or the 2021 redo on the Ryder Cup, very similar to the Summer Olympics in Tokyo.
And I think if you're the PGA right now and talking about the Ryder Cup, you at least feel good that should happen next year, just due to the fact that if you can't have it in Wisconsin or here in the United States, over in Europe, they're having a lot better luck dealing with COVID-19. They're having less numbers. They've seemed to kind of have some type of herd immunity to where they're now even allowing some fans back. They're supposed to have some fans back at the French Open in tennis later on this year. So you feel like it could still go off. You just might have to take it across the pond.
And if we were to go across the pond, what we would take with us? We would take with us our Family Leisure Studios.
That's exactly right, because we are in our Family Leisure Studios. Will family and fun come together? Save now on your 2021 swimming pool by buying now at 2020 prices, and save your spot for first installment in 2021. Patio furniture 20 to 30% off. Play gyms are in stock. Beat the heat with an indoor gaming table and slated pool table. Pool toys and floats up to 30% off. That's at Family Leisure, 2120 Winton Road, just north of I-40.
A lot of college football announcements about testing. Tulane, from Brett McMurphy, from his Twitter site, Brett McMurphy, Tulane announces since July 4th, all 115 COVID tests to student athletes, coaches, and staff have been negative. A lot of those same stories at other places in college football. They don't make quite the headline as one or two failed tests will make. Also today, the TSSAA, and I think in just almost stock form for the TSSAA, we're waiting for the big decision. On Monday we had Coach Wolf on with John Varlas explaining, to get back, don't treat everybody the same, don't treat every sport the same, have some flexibility. They just punted today, decided they would make a decision later. No news.
And that's the problem with, every single level of sports right now, is that they just keep punting. They keep waiting on to make a decision. And like I've said multiple times, we're running out of time on decisions. We have to have a finite plan set into place of what we're going to look like going forward. Now, you might have to backtrack on that plan if numbers don't improve and everything doesn't slowly start to get better. But it's better to have a plan in place now than to look up in 3 weeks where your back's against the wall and try to put something together real quick. I'd much rather TSSAA or any other organization out there give me a restart plan right now, and if you got to change it, change it. I'll understand, but don't just leave me out there waiting for you to make a decision. Make a decision now, and if you got to backtrack it, so be it. Just give me something now, though.
This hour brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity July sales event. Great offers on all 2020 models and always on special lease options. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis, they think you would look great in one of those beautiful cars as well. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500. You'll be looking and driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design that makes for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com, 901-362-8833. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Drew, do your thing.
My top story of the day, Ryan Silverfield is staying hot in recruitment as the 3-star wide receiver Cameron Wright from South Panola committed to the Tigers this morning. The 6'4" wideout has been compared to Memphis star DeMonte Coxey, and Wright believes that he can fill those shoes. Cameron told 24/7 that I want to be the guy to replace Coxey because he's going to break the record for career receiving yards at Memphis. I know I'm really going to have to work and grind to get that spot, but I'm definitely ready for it. And if he's being compared to DeMonte Coxey, I say, come on, Come on, let's do it.
Yeah.
I mean, and he great player out of South Panola, 3-star. I think had 12 different offers, maybe 3 SEC offers as well.
Good for him and good for the University of Memphis. And we know what getting a 3-star out of South Panola can do for a program. Example, Mr. Henderson. He was good, wasn't he?
Oh, he was great.
My top story, Ryder Cup announcement this morning that there will not be the Ryder Cup this fall in Wisconsin. Captain Steve Stricker from the state of Wisconsin, he will remain the captain. They will host in 2021. They intend to host in 2021, but now another fall event not going to happen, and I can't blame them. Rory McIlroy voiced it a few weeks ago. Why have it if you can't have fans? The fans really make the Ryder Cup. It is one of the few times that golf fans can really act like
Fans.
The rest of sports fans at an event. You can all but shout in someone's backswing. It hadn't. I don't know if it's happened yet. It's probably going to happen. And the United States fans, galleries, patrons, they give it really, really a lot. I think sometimes it's right up to a line. I don't think any United States player can really ever complain that maybe it's too rough over there when they get it back. And I go back to 99 and the scene after that bomb of a putt from Justin Leonard, what was done that day to Jose Maria Lozabal. That is not, and that was not, and that should never be golf. Now, it was enthusiastic, and it was the thrill of victory, but just the party that ensued on the green that day at Brookline at the Country Club, that really started kind of all this in the Ryder Cup. So you really can't ever complain. As long as you're getting it, you're going to give it, you're going to get it back. Not top story, Carl.
Not top story of the day.
My not top story of the day, Stanford will be cutting 11 of its 36 varsity sports at the conclusion of the 2020-21 academic year due to financial losses from the pandemic. The 11 sports that will be discontinued are men's and women's fencing, field hockey, lightweight rowing, men's rowing, co-ed and women's sailing, squash, synchronized swimming, men's volleyball, and wrestling.
Well, that's wrestling to me.
Wrestling. I'm sorry. I put the G on the end for some reason.
Have you ever played or participated? Do you play? Or how do you compete in squash?
I played racquetball before. I think they're very similar of sports, but I've never played squash itself. I think you play squash.
Do you?
I think so.
I never have either. It is my top story as well. Stanford, where they have an endowment of, wait for it, care to guess, Drew?
I'd be way off regardless, so go ahead and just give it to me.
Take a swing at the endowment at Stanford.
I'm going to say north of 100?
100
million.
Million?
Yeah.
Well north of it. 27 billion.
Ooh. Yeah, I knew I was
27 billion. I looked it up. I knew it was great, and it is one of the legendary crown jewels of academe, of universities, of higher ed study. It is. And you can talk to anybody that's ever been there. It's almost like its own world. Mm-hmm. And when you go in, you may go in as whatever you think you are. You're coming out the Stanford person. It is a place of renowned academic prowess. $27 billion in their endowment. Why can't they come off the endowment a little bit and keep the wrestling going?
I'm not sure, but you're exactly right. Right with
Stanford. What do we hope? Why do we have these endowments if we never use them?
I'm not sure. I guess it's just money to sit there and be a nice statistic for something to be used at a later date. But you're right about Stanford.
For a fund manager to make a lot of commission off of?
I'm guessing so. But what I'm saying is you're exactly right about Stanford. There's no Cardell Jones. I ain't here to play no school. You go to Stanford. No, you go to school.
You go to school. I had a friend of mine who GA'd at Ole Miss, GA'd at Memphis, was an assistant coach at a couple places, and he was out there, and he said there are no make-believe classes to get by for athletes. Football, basketball, baseball, there's no hidden class. There's none of that, that went on at North Carolina. Here's the classes. If you can't pass these, and if you can't do it in 8 semesters, there's no 5-year plan at Stanford. I mean, it is really one of the legitimate academic high performance places. But the $27 billion. I mean, is it just to upkeep buildings? Is it just to build new buildings? I mean, a lot of these places with these endowments, it's a little bit like if you have worked and saved and sacrificed and scrimped, and when it was hot, you stayed a little hotter. When it was cold, you didn't turn the heat up very much. I know many people that have lived like that very austerely. That's fine. Why? If you're not going to spend it on the back end on something.
I don't get it. I don't get what really that money is there for, if not to be used in a moment of crisis that we're in. I mean, this should be the time that you should make it.
If this ain't a crisis, I mean, if it's not a crisis, when you whack 11 out of 36 varsity sports, and you went through them, from women's sailing to men's volleyball. And they play everything every year on those Director Cups. Stanford's always way up there for the entire athletics department, but not in this case. So really sad to see that. And I think some of these places will be pressured to come off that money, to come off some of these huge endowments and spend it on rank and file stuff. When we come back, we talk the WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational. We do that next with Executive Director Darrell Smith.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Looking for a great place to deposit your money? Try First Bank. Competitive CD rates, a money market that moves with Wall Street prime and interest-bearing checking account options. Not to mention their friendly bankers who make decisions locally. To find out more, stop by one of First Bank's 3 local branches. 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper. 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase. And 6280 Highway 64 in Oakland. Or visit firstbankonline.com. Member FDIC.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
We like to party.
Thank you very much, Carl. We welcome you back. Daryl Smith will join us from the golf tournament from the WGC FESJI, where he is executive director. We also are always so proud to have as a sponsor Memphis Tourism and Sports Council. And in Memphis and Shelby County, you can experience the great outdoors with amazing amenities as a community member or visitor, whether it's riding bikes through Shelby Farms Park, across the city via the Green Line, or gliding over the Mississippi on the Big River Crossing. These are just some of the reasons that make Memphis one of America's best bike cities. Outdoor enthusiasts also don't want to miss Bass Pro Shops at the Pyramid, and then take their gear to fish, kayak, or paddleboard on our many waterways. And you can be a spectator when we get AutoZone Park back open. I know 901 FC is ready to get going back playing. We'll see about fans for that as well. The team at Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council, they make it easy to plan your path for exploring the great outdoors. Visit memphistravel.com and get outside today and take in some of that vitamin D. We all need that. That's one of the best things for you, especially in these times. 2020, man, it's one of the all-timers, and we visit with one of the great guys of all time. Daryl Smith joins us now from the golf tournament. And Daryl, it is an unenviable task for everybody right now in sports. It's fluid. It's game planning day to day, almost hour to hour. This morning, the Ryder Cup announcement. Earlier in the week, the announcement from Jack Nicklaus's tournament at the Memorial next week, where they are hosting this week. You don't get to do it 2 weeks in a row. I think this year is probably a year you're glad you don't have to.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting deal up there in Muirfield Village. They got 2 weeks in a row, so they got 1 week. Right now with the workday event, and then the Memorial tournament that was postponed, and then shortly thereafter, the traveling circus and the PGA Tour will make its way to Memphis, Tennessee, and we'll put on the World Golf Championships FedEx St. Jude Invitational.
And we're looking forward to it, Daryl, however it falls out for us. I love the news last week that this year we'll have a little bigger field, 78-man field. Last year was not that big. I know on Thursday and Friday last year was kind of everybody on the golf course. It felt like going off 1 and 10. And then on the weekend, we went to tee times. What do you think is preferable? What do you think the pros really like best?
Yeah, I think, last year was an interesting year. I mean, we knew on Thursday and Friday we're going to go off threesomes. And, our history here at Memphis PGA Tour events, we've had such a large field, and that normal field size have been 156 players. And then, you go to the 2019, the first World Golf Championship here at TPC Southwind, we welcome a field size of a huge number of 63. So it kind of got a little getting used to, and all 63 of those players are going to be around, all week long, because it's 4 days of competition and no cut. And, went 11-1 and threesomes on Thursday and Friday. And the original plan last year was to, still go off 2 tees on the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. And, but unfortunately, or more fortunately, we decided to go off 1 tee in twosomes, starting at 7:45 in the morning. And, I think Thursday and Friday, I think that the guys really enjoy what we did last year. I think that it's just a little bit, it just seems like everybody's on the golf course at the same time, so you're playing under the same conditions. That's one of the things that, you watch the Open Championship, and, it's all about the draw. If you get the morning draw, the afternoon draw, when the weather comes in. But, with the World Golf Championship in a smaller field, all the players are on the golf course pretty much at the same time, so they're playing under very similar conditions. And then on the weekend, it just, to me, feels right for a championship to go off 1 tee, in twosomes, starting in 7:45 and that last tee time in the afternoon time slot. So I think we'll be doing the same this year, what we ended up doing last year, maybe threesomes on Thursday and Friday, then twosomes on the weekend, of course, barring any weather or any issues that we have to adjust for, things like that are outside of our control.
There, I know. I personally, when I'm out at the golf tournament, I love on the weekends where everybody does go off at 1 tee, where I can basically sit down for about 10 hours at one spot and see everybody roll through. But with there being 2 tournaments basically at the same course, back-to-back weeks this year at the PGA, how hard is that to manage? I know how y'all work a year round to manage one event. I mean, how much bigger of a load is it to try to manage 2, especially kind of in a short-term notice because they haven't had all year to prepare.
Yeah, no, it's definitely unique. I mean, of course, it's definitely, I think the main issues as you look at Muirfield this week, and there's already been some stories about it, is that this first week, you have to prepare the golf course in a way that, the scars of this week's event are not going to affect next week's event to a level that will be detrimental to the championship. So, I would say that most of the pressure comes on the field staff and the rules staff and how they set up the golf course. They'll want to be very cognizant of where their hole locations are and, where tee shots are landing in fairways as far as divot patterns and things like that. So I would tell you if there's pressure on anybody, it's pressure on the rules officials and the field staff that set up the golf course for competition. The tournament staff that's there on site, of course, this year is so unique and unlike any year that we've all experienced. And, when you remove the spectator component, which they have there at Muirfield Village, things are a little bit different for that staff. But it'll be interesting just to see the difference inside the ropes from the way they set up the golf course. And while you're not going to be able to make the golf course totally different from one week to the next, I do think you'll see the Memorial the second week of their stay there. I think the tournament will play differently. The greens can be sped up. The hole locations can be lengthened, and it gives them an opportunity maybe to play with some things too that they've always wanted to do there as far as it relates to the competition. They could do that the first week and see how it works, and maybe in 2021 they would want to implement for that actual Memorial tournament.
Daryl, when you start thinking about the tournament for the next year and y'all truly start planning for next year's tournament, about a day or two after this one ends, getting everything we did right, everything we want to work on, crowd flow in this spot, or maybe more concession stands or bathrooms here. After this year around sports, can you imagine what the checklist going forward will be? Because now it won't just be down in the fine print of contracts. It just won't be down there by the force majeure clause. Everybody's going to be checking everything, won't they?
Yeah, I mean, this year has just only totally changed the live event business. I mean, it's changed the live event business since March, and unfortunately, it's going to probably it's going to change for the foreseeable future until there's a therapeutic or a vaccine probably related to COVID-19. And, even once we get to that point, there's going to be a shift in the landscape, and there's going to be a lot more things that you might not have had to do in the past that are going to become norm, and, just not too long ago, you go to a sporting event without walking through a metal detector. And in some instances, you still do that today where you don't have to walk through a metal detector. But for the most part, you go to a large-scale event and, metal detectors are the norms. And you look back on 2020, and Brett, you say that, we start planning 2021 the day after. I'll be very candid. I think I've been wanting to plan 2021 since April. If anything I did to get to 2021, it would be a blessing for us. But it's going to change, and there's going to be things that probably change forever due to what we're dealing with here in 2020 with COVID-19. And it'll be interesting to look back on it 3 to 5 years from now, because we're going to get through this, and I think that's something that we all got to be. We all got to be positive about that. We're going to get through this, and we're going to have events, and we're going to have our sports back at an extremely high level that we're all used to. But there's no doubt it'll have some impacts for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm. Daryl, with the news from today with the Ryder Cup being moved back to 2021, is the PGA going to try to fill that week with maybe a tournament that's been canceled, or are they just going to leave it open?
Yeah, so the Ryder Cup, making the move, I mean, I think that was probably the worst kept secret in all of golf. I mean, when you look at our Ryder Cup, one of the things that makes the Ryder Cup so special is that fan experience and for that 1 week a year, it's a one-on-one battle, per se. And, I think it's definitely the right move is to, postpone the Ryder Cup and, give it another shot in 2021. I think it'll be interesting, where we are right now in our season. I don't know what the plans are for that open date. The fall is a pretty compact schedule right this second. We get through the PGA Tour season and the FedEx Cup season, the FedEx Cup playoffs, and we go into the fall months with a lot more events than we have historically had. Of course, with Augusta and U.S. Open, and of course there was a Ryder Cup that now has been postponed. So I can see the need for a break. To be honest, I think that it would help just the mindset of the players to know there's a little there's a little chance to catch your breath and before you finish out the year with the other major championships that are scheduled to be played. But time will tell, and there's no doubt that the PGA Tour has been impacted, and just as everybody has been impacted. So if it does make sense to have an event, I'm sure we will explore that, but I think it's just too early to tell at this point.
You're right, Daryl, because the pressure that they've been under, and I think the PGA Tour staff, they've pulled it off well in this restart. All the places have been fanless, and we know the next 3 weeks will be as well, and the PGA Tour or the PGA Championship in San Francisco fanless as well. That PGA Championship, they tried their best to get out of June. It only lasted 1 year, right back into August, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty. It's amazing just to think, going back to last year, a lot of our talk was about the revamped FedEx Cup season, and the March, April, May, June, July, August. Every single month there was a marquee event. Of course, with August being the culmination of the PGA Tour season and the chance to raise the FedEx Cup, and starting in March with the Players Championship, and then April with Augusta, then May with the PGA. And then just 12 months later, the PGA's back into their old spot, which is towards the end of the summer in July and August. So it'll be good to get back to what that original plan was in 2019. But the PGA, you look at it now, they're the first major of the year, and it's the Players Championship.
I can't wait for it.
It's first major championship. So they almost. I don't think that they would have thought going into this being played in July or August they've been the first major championship of the year, but it might end up being
Augusta
the best thing for the PGA this year. Exactly.
Yeah, Augusta last, and even at Augusta National, it could be fanless or limited fans. Drew, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, no, you're fine. Daryl, we let you get away with it last week, and as we're drawing close, it's the question that you get asked every single year, and I'm going to ask you again, is there any news on the Tiger front?
Yeah, hey, I love that question. People ask me that question all the time, and I think it's but that's a good position to be in to even have the conversation about Tiger Woods, and we don't know any more than you guys know. Like I said, I think in the past Tiger's eligible to compete. I think it's good for us that Tiger hasn't played yet. That's my own personal opinion. I don't have any insight there, but I think there was a lot of thought about Tiger when we were taking the return to golf. That hey, the first few events that we were coming back at would Tiger play, and hey, they are fanless. That's you don't have to deal with maybe the hysteria that for some events that if he was to play is an opportunity for him to get his game sharp going into the summer, and he still hasn't played up to this point. I fully expect that Tiger would play next week in Memorial. Of course, he has a long history there, great success, and then I think we're in a great position. He hasn't played yet. He could play at Memorial, and then possibly take a week off there at the 3M Open and make his way to Memphis and prepare for the PGA Championship. So time will tell again on him. But I know that we're better off now as a World Golf Championship and our chances to have Tiger Woods play than we were in the prior very successful years of the FedEx St. Jude Classic.
For sure, Daryl, and he can wing his way from down in Florida to where he lives in Jupiter to Memphis, and then head west, young man, to Harding Park at the PGA Championship, and just keep on going on the Tiger Express. But we'd love to see him here. But if he's not, we will play on without him as we have so successfully for so many years. But it'd be a lot of fun with him. Darryl, it was a lot of fun with you today. Best of luck. Stay patient. And we'll make it through this, and I can't wait to visit with you next week on whatever developments occur from the golf tournament. Thank you, Darryl.
All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Darryl.
You got it. Darryl Smith with the golf tournament with us. Usually on Tuesday, he needed to join us today, and we appreciate him doing so. And the news today from the Ryder Cup, it just probably won't be many fan events this year at all in golf. It's one very easy. When we were thinking about things that would restart, Drew, we talked about golf because you can so easily be distant out there, and without galleries, without patrons, without fans, they can do it. I think some of the pros, we'll talk with John Goen about this when he joins us. I think some to a lot of the pros really, really like it, especially this year, because guess what? They're still playing for them. On Sunday afternoon, low man's still going to get $1.3 million, $1.5 million, $1.7 million. Heck, last week, Victor Hovland was T12. He won $130,000. That's great for this year.
Yeah, still a nice
but
payday.
It's great, but it won't last because eventually you're going to have those fans back because it cannot just exist on corporate sponsorships and on TV money. You've got to have that person coming through that gate.
Yeah, you have to have the patrons out there, and it makes golf so much better to watch in person, obviously, and on TV because you like to see the reaction from the crowd, and you like to see the players somewhat interact with patrons along the ropes as they're walking to their next shot. But if I'm a player right now, and I think I'd enjoy it, kind of just the peace and quiet and not having to worry about, maybe if I forward a little right, having to sign a ball because I hit somebody in the head with it or something like that. And if the only person that's had
and people tugging at Tiger, I
Yeah.
mean, it may freak him out. I mean, when was the last time he was on the course playing in an event that it was that anonymous? I know it'd be easy to say college, but even then, he was already Tiger Woods then. I mean, he hadn't played in front of just literally nobody around a tee box. I mean, since some junior days.
Yeah, it's been forever for him because he has always been, Tiger Woods, where he is the biggest name and the biggest draw of the sport. So if I was him, I would try to play, kind of get some relief from that. See how different it is being a guy that doesn't have 1,000 people on a golf course following your every move and every shot. Kind of see what it's like to be Joe Q Public out there on a golf course in the tour.
Darryl mentioned the announcement from the Ryder Cup is one of the worst kept secrets ever. That's right. And one of the next worst kept secrets ever, the news from the Ivy League. We talked about it a lot Monday, some yesterday. It's official today. We discuss it more, and I am here to praise the Ivy League. Please hear everything I say about it. That's next.
Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and C.J. Hertz. Weekdays from 7 to 10. Only on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Great news, sports fans. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse is now open for dine-in service. Make a reservation and enjoy a mouth-watering steak dinner. Or, if you prefer, take it curbside. In addition to their fantastic steaks, the Butcher Shop Steakhouse has a variety of entrees, including Canadian lobster tail, crab stuffed shrimp, pan-seared red snapper, and fresh ground steak burger with portobello mushroom sauce. Planning to cook out? The Butcher Shop Steakhouse offers a great selection of fresh Angus beef, hand-cut steaks and burgers, lamb chops, Atlantic salmon, and more. Make your reservation for dine-in or pre-order for curbside pickup. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse, dine-in, curbside, and delivery. Plus, enjoy the sizzle of top-quality Butcher Shop steaks on your own grill. Call us at 757-4244 and visit our website, thebutchershop.com, for menus and more. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse, Walnut Grove and Germantown Parkway.
Napa know-how.
Get all the quality parts you need at your locally owned Napa. Because right now, when you order from Napa online, you can pick up curbside at your local store in just 30 minutes. Or get your order delivered direct to your door with free one-day shipping on over 160,000 quality parts when you spend $50 or more. Quality parts delivered quickly and safely. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating stores, standard ground shipping and exclusions apply.
If you want to make money in sales, Flynn Broadcasting wants you. If you can sell, Flynn Broadcasting has a great career waiting for you. If you can sell, we have great benefits, salary, commission, sales leads, and a great place to work. If you can sell, let us know today. Send your resume to jobs@flynn.com. Can everyone sell? No. But if you can, Flynn Broadcasting wants you. Apply today at jobs@flynn.com. Start your great career today at jobs@flynn.com. Flynn Broadcasting wants you.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Thank you, Carl. We wrap up hour number one in the Ivy League. They made it official today. No football this fall. It will be a spring sport next year. They will have no fall sports for any sport. Everything will be springtime, as at most of the Ivy League schools as the announcements are being made. Not all, but most are planning to do it without students on campus, mostly online Zoom classes. That's a lot of money anywhere for that, and I think there will be a ton of lawsuits for that. Also, Drew, I'm talking to parents. I've talked to parents that will send children, youngsters of theirs, either back to or off for the first time to Fayetteville, to Oxford, to the University of Memphis, and one friend of mine told me his child at Mississippi State, with or without school, they're going to let their children go to those places, take the classes online from there, and try to have something resembling a normal college experience.
Yeah, because, I mean, college is such a big time, I think, in a person's life. It's where you develop and you grow into the type of person that you're ultimately going to be, being around new types of people and new cultures, and getting that college experience, it's worth more than just that piece of paper, than just the monetary number that they put on there. And I know if I was still in school, I would still want to be around campus, around my fellow students for that full college experience. And you know, I've been graduated from college for 3.5 years now, so I don't really know how anybody in college kind of feels about it, but I would do the exact same thing. If I was going out of state or out of town for college, I'd still go just to try to create some type of normalcy. And with the Ivies moving to the spring, they say they don't expect anything to start till January 1st. Well, what does that mean for basketball, a sport that goes on during the fall and winter and spring semesters? Are they just not going to start basketball till January 1st and try to play all, the 35, 40 games in or 30 games in 3 months?
Or would they try to get a special dispensation from the NCAA to just play their round-robin conference and then the postseason tournament if we're to a normal schedule time frame around that time? I would be for the NCAA giving to them. Look, on the Ivy League issue, good for them. And they have to run their business as they see fit, but it is not one size fits all. We've seen that during this pandemic. We're going to see it go forward. In fact, that region of the country right now, New York and Connecticut, I think yesterday in the state of Connecticut, not a single death from the virus, not one yesterday in the state of Connecticut. And, it was the epicenter for so long. Well, now that has shifted more to the Sun Belt, to a different region of the country, more toward SEC country, if you will. But I applaud the Ivy League for doing that. But I don't think just because they did it means everybody should follow lockstep today or in the next few weeks with an announcement. Some may regret that they didn't follow lockstep. It might have been the smartest thing to make that decision when they did it. Their basketball decision, again, I said this Monday, I repeated it yesterday, I'll try a third swing of it today. Basketball was more of an impact for the Ivy League because they play that level of basketball.
They do.
They play for that team that wins that automatic bid in the Ivy League. Conceptually, in reality, they can go to the Final Four. One shining moment can be playing for them. Last year, it would have been in Atlanta. Their football, they don't. So it's not an apt, fair, apple-to-apple comparison, I don't think.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I mean, Princeton, Harvard, Yale, normally your three schools that represent the Ivy League in basketball, they technically do have a shot to raise the trophy and hear one shining moment. Those schools in football never have a prayer to make it into the CFP because, one, they don't play in the same league as the CFP, and there's just not the same amount of money.
Not only CFP, Drew, it's more than that. Those teams, they don't even allow their champion to go to FCS playoffs. An undefeated Harvard or Yale, and we've seen really good teams come out of that. They're not even allowed to go into those playoffs. It's over that last game of the year. So that was the example I was trying to make Monday. Made another attempt at it yesterday, and I hope I made it today.
I think you made your point. I think it got across today. 3 days in a row.
Hour number two. Hour number 2 comes up next. It starts with John Goen.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire-roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Glad to announce the Rendezvous open for business 11A to 8P Tuesday through Saturday. World famous Rendezvous up and running. If you need some barbecue nachos, brisket, ribs, maybe a cheese and sausage plate, the Rendezvous back and open for dine-in, carry out, and curbside. While not much changes in the alley basement, you will see a few small differences and additions. For now, open 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, and they have desserts. Think key lime pie tarts, chocolate chess pie tarts. Spend some time downtown and visit our friends at the Rendezvous in the alley in downtown Memphis since 1948. All of the Vergas family thanks Memphis and the Mid-South so very much for your support during these times, and they're there for you, as always, in the alley in downtown Memphis. Mr. Charlie Vergos and family's famous restaurant, The Rendezvous.
Did you know that right now, Geico is offering an extra 15% credit on car, motorcycle, and RV policies? That's 15% on top of the money Geico could already save you. So what are you waiting for? Your dog to make you breakfast in bed with Belgian waffles and fresh fruit compote? As nice as that sounds, that's probably never going to happen. But at least there's never been a better time to switch to Geico. Save an extra 15% when you switch to Geico by October 7th. Visit geico.com to learn more.
Hi, this is Rob Brown. Join Pete Cordelli and me for Sidelines Saturday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. on Sports 56, 87.7, and 96.1 FM. We'll cover the Memphis Tigers, the SEC, recruiting. Hey, if they keep score, we're covering it. Check us out on the website at sports56whbq.com and sidelines.live. Sidelines is brought to you by Duncan Williams Asset Management. Saturday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. Get up and give us a call.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Ocean and Brett Norsworthy.
Thank you so much for listening. We're with you until 6 o'clock if I don't knock my TV remote control around too loudly here. Did that go out over there, Drew?
I didn't hear anything.
me banging around in here. Got a little fumble fingers there. I'm very sorry, but we do appreciate everybody listening. We're with you until 6 o'clock, and we will talk golf with John Gowen from Timber Trust Golf after I tell you about our great sponsor at 67129 at the First Bank text line at 360-8255. The First Bank phone line, and we appreciate them so much for hanging with us in good times and in 2020 man times. We really appreciate it. And First Bank, they know exactly what you need. You need a reliable, and they are trustworthy, and they are Memphis bankers that can give you a direct answer and do it in a timely manner. You don't need to wait 5 or 6 days and have to load up more documents to a loan committee way down there in Birmingham or Nashville or Knoxville or Atlanta or anywhere. It's right here in Memphis. And that's what they will give you, a direct answer right here from the First Bank banker that you're dealing with, somebody that you see out in the community when we get back to normal times, somebody that you might see at a ball game or see at a sports event, at the golf course, anywhere, at a charity event. You will see the First Bank bankers around town because they're from here and they're going to be here during good times or in these times. First Bank, with stories and a record of customers reaching high. Community Bank's the preferred lender of people building a success story. Build your success story with First Bank. Visit firstbankonline.com. That's firstbankonline.com. John Gowen, I know how happy you have been through the acquisition of and running Timber Trust Golf, the remodel, the rebranding, everything down there. And I know you had great years at TPC Southwind, and you wish all your friends in the golf business very well, and particularly out at TPC Southwind. But aren't you glad a little bit that you're not having to go through this or going through 2 weeks in a row at the Memorial? That would almost kill you, wouldn't it?
I would definitely not enjoy that at all, Brett. It's just kind of one of those things that, it's one of those things where I just am really just thankful for the years that I put in with the tour and everything else. But I could not fathom working back-to-back 100-hour weeks.
No, it'd be tough. It'd be tough for those people this week in Dublin because I know tournament week for you, it doesn't start on Thursday morning with the ceremonial first people going off 1 and 10. Tournament week starts for you about 3 weeks before that, and your truck is parked in your parking place at about 4.5 bells every morning.
Yeah, it's you got to think now. Granted, nowadays, I mean, clearly your merchandise tent footprint is substantially smaller, and other things, but you're not having to obviously deal with spectators and everything. So I'm sure that any of these events right now are going to see some substantial changes, maybe even as far as when you're going to get there and arrive, to make sure that you've got folks on property for, first tour player arriving and everything else. But
and still, to be cleared for the employees medically.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, now you're having to think about that a little bit more. Where's your parking located? How are your shuttles working to be able to get them on property? And so there's definitely some added steps from that perspective. But it's you're right. It doesn't start Monday morning. Usually merchandise tent setup is Friday and Saturday, and of course you're getting prepped. You got to close for your membership, and you're trying to make sure you send your members off the right way from that perspective, and because they're going to be gone from your golf course for 10 days to 2 weeks, and in this situation being back-to-back weeks, I mean they're going to be gone for probably 3 or 4 weeks, maybe the entire month, for crying out loud. So you got to make sure there's a lot of moving targets, especially if you're at a private golf course holding, a PGA Tour event. You got to make sure you really kind of cater to your members and got them set up as they now potentially won't see their golf course for a good 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And John, I know that these people up there in Dublin are in kind of uncharted territory, but say you were happen to deal with this, besides actual, the simple hole placements to make it different from week to week, what are some tactics that you might try to do to kind of make the golf course different from week 1 to week 2?
It's going to be challenging to really kind of do that, just because you're really prepping the golf course for a certain way. I mean, you're not going to really be able to do anything at all from a rough perspective. Bunkers are going to be bunkers, day in and day out. Your fairway heights really aren't going to change. I mean, ideally, you're not going to see a lot of difference. I mean, hole locations, you could vary a little bit here and there. Tee placements, can you toy around with those a little bit to, maybe vary your lengths and are there some unique tee boxes that you potentially have created, just for your events, to be able to try to do something like that. So, it would really, really be difficult to try to make this different back-to-back weeks. There's not going to be a heck of a lot that folks are going to be able to do outside of, really what we talked about. Green speeds, you're going to want to keep it at the same, week in, week out. So it's really going to be tee placements, hole locations. And outside of that, I don't see golf course really changing all that much.
Okay, speaking of golf courses going forward, when will we get to the point that we read and we hear the stories that go like this? We got a Bryson DeChambeau proof the course.
I don't see that, I mean, we've been dealing with that for years, and, I don't know what more you can do to proof a golf course for a specific player. And the other side of it too is, clearly tour players are going to go through hot streaks and cold streaks. I mean, there's a reason that they don't play every single week. I mean, they'll get into a rut. I mean, we talked last week about Jordan Spieth, and if you're talking about Jordan Spieth, who's to say that something like that doesn't happen, to Bryson DeChambeau, and now all of a sudden he's struggling a little bit, and his game kind of gets off, and then he loses all this yardage that he's now created. The other side of it too is, let's face it, how long is Bryson? And I think over the years you talked about it with Tiger, but how long is Bryson's body going to be able to hold up with all this additional weight and muscle and everything else? I mean, I think, Brett, we're going way back here, but I think we've mentioned him before. But Keith Clearwater went through this whole thing right around the time that the fitness phase and craze kind of started, even pre-Tiger. Where he puts on all of this weight and it ultimately winds up affecting his golf swing, and so he's got to kind of back himself off of this. I mean, I feel like with Bryson, like with many things with Bryson, that this is almost a bit of an experiment to see how far he can push it and see what it does for his golf game. And then if it doesn't work, then he slims himself back down and kind of moves on to whatever the next thing is, because clearly Bryson is that guy. I mean, he's very, mental in regard to his approach. He's very mathematic. I mean, he's done all of these unique things, same length clubs, so Bryson has his own little quirks. Is this, the newest of Bryson's quirks? And we just kind of see how long he rides this out before he changes his body type back to a bit more of what it was, or morphs try to in between. David Duval had the whole issue too, where he got heavy, lost a ton of weight, lost his golf swing, never really recovered from that, tried to put weight back on, and hasn't really been the same either. So, this is a bit of an experiment here, and it'll just be kind of interesting to see where, it lands with Bryson.
I'm with you, John. He's a very quirky guy, very mercurial guy, deep thinker. We know all that. A quirk is carrying the protractor around. A quirk is not those thighs and those calves.
Well, clearly he's put a lot of work into it. But again, I'm going to be very interested to see where he can get and how long something like this is going to last. Just because, again, it can be something that as hard as he is swinging right now, how does his body continue to hold up week in and week out? And clearly we saw, especially late in his career, Tiger's body started to fail on him. And we all know Tiger and the snap of the left leg and how he was trying to post into that left side and everything, and the toll that took on his body. Bryson's going to deal with the exact same stuff, because if we go back and we look at 1996 and 7 Tiger when he turned pro, and 2008 Tiger, a lot of muscle got put on that body, a lot more clubhead speed happened in that body, but a lot more wear and tear happened on that body, and ultimately that body has failed.
Yeah, I think it is just a matter of time before Bryson DeChambeau does have to recreate his body, because I just don't think it's something that can last 10 to 15 years. But sticking with DeChambeau, and especially the outrage that he had on Saturday, do you think he's starting to become maybe the next Bubba or Patrick Reed on the tour?
He could very well be. He could very well be. I think we talked a little bit about that, in last week's conversation. I think he's got a long way to go to be Patrick Reed. Because Patrick Reed is in his own atmosphere right now with regard to how he has gone from being hero to villain on multiple fronts. So, Bryson's definitely going to go down that path, or is starting to kind of go down that path. So it'll be interesting to kind of see if he corrects it, or whether it just kind of is, this is what I am and this is who you're going to get, and just figure out a way to deal with it.
John, we hadn't mentioned in a long time the Tiger Woods proofing of golf courses. And we know that where he sits on that major list, on that number that meant everything to him from when he was a tot to a junior golfer to aspiring young pro to accomplished player. Did the Tiger proofing cost him? Do you have an example of, yes, they did this and it cost Tiger Woods one more closer to Jack Nicklaus's 18?
Nothing overly comes to mind. I think clearly, and I know I just USGA, rant and rave, but or more rant
Don't we
and rave.
Yeah.
So I think if you're going to look at anything, Tiger and U.S. Opens were potentially an area where, could Tiger have won another major or so? Augusta clearly did not bother him. We continue to talk about how PGA championships and Open championships
can get squirrely.
They can get squirrely, and but if anything, the most player-friendly major is by far and away the PGA Championship, which is great. The PGA of America says, we don't care, what people shoot. We're going to go out and set the golf course up the way we want to set it up, and go out and play it. And whatever you're going to shoot, you shoot. Clearly, the U.S. Open has swung pendulum opposite the direction for so many years. Last year was definitely better from that perspective, and hopefully that's going to be the direction that the USGA continues to move. But I would tend to think that if you've seen anything, that potentially a U.S. Open would have been, a place where Tiger would have really lost an opportunity to maybe win another major. But I mean, for the longest time too, Tiger was just so much better mentally than all of those guys, and he clearly had an advantage over everybody when he stepped on the tee box at a major. So, I don't think you can point to one in particular, but if you were going to lean one way, I would lean much more towards the U.S. Open than any of the other three majors.
And we're still waiting on to see whether when Tiger's going to play. We've had resumed golf for over a month. It's definitely not going to be this week. Is it going to be next week at the Memorial just because it's Jack's tournament?
Well, he's fared well there.
Mm-hmm.
And weather, going to be different. Obviously, July at that golf course, and we're kind of back into a bit of what we've discussed before, right? I mean, we're, completely different time of year for Jack's event at Memorial. It's just going to be very, very interesting to see how that golf course holds up for 2 consecutive weeks. Because it's bent grass, and yes, it's Ohio, but it's still bent grass. And if it gets hot, you're having to syringe greens an awful lot, and you're doing everything in your power to make sure that come Sunday, 2 weeks from now, that, you're not putting on dirt, which means that they are going to be fairly protective of that golf course. So, it's going to just be very, very interesting to see. I would tend to think that greens are going to be softer and slower than they normally are during the normal time slot for Jack's event in particular. So, it's just going to be a very interesting week. I think that we continue the trend from a scoring standpoint these next 2 weeks, just because, again, yes, typically Muirfield plays a little bit softer because you get all these rains and stuff in May. Now you're in July, though, and, you are having to do things to this golf course in order to help it, stay alive and stay in pristine condition. So they're going to probably have to put more water down than they originally have thought of. And again, I've not looked at a weather forecast. If they're dealing with similar conditions as to what we're dealing with, they could deal with afternoon showers pretty much every single day for these next 2 weeks. I know we've been living in that weather pattern now for at least the last 4, 5, 6 days, possibly the last week or so. Of course, if the rains come, it's just going to make that golf course that much softer, and I think scoring conditions that much better for these guys.
John, we've talked about the date being moved back for the tournament here to the last week of July, the first weekend of August, gives the golf course a chance, unless we really got something oppressive that's not in any of the AccuWeather near our long-term forecast. Yes, hot, yes, steamy, yes, Memphis, but not anything listed highs, never mind the heat index. The grass doesn't know what the heat index is. Nothing at 105 or 110 in the offing, so the golf course should be tip-top when the world comes here after Muirfield for 2 weeks and after Blaine, Minnesota.
Yeah, I think clearly right now the way the weather has been, at least the last probably 7 weeks or so, maybe 8 weeks. I mean, Nick Bazans and his crew there have probably had more than enough time to, get that golf course moving in the direction in which they want to go. I mean, the tour is clearly mandated where they're going to have rough and things along those lines, but they have more than enough time to be able to dial that golf course in condition-wise to where they want to have it for the event. Again, I think it'll be interesting to see, how it goes. I mean, you can add wetting agents, which help greens retain a little bit more moisture so you don't have to water nearly as much. You can do some things, from an agronomic standpoint that can help the golf course to where you're still not having to, pour lots of water on it. Zoysia is going to be fine. That, healthy grass is always better as it does get a little bit droughty. It can withstand it a little bit more as long as it's healthy, which we know doggone well it will be at Southwind. So, I think that you'll see probably a substantial amount of definition between fairway, step cut, and rough there. I think the rough, hopefully, they've decided to maybe get that up a little bit. I've not seen or heard anything about where rough heights are at, but, I would tend to think they're going to get the rough up a little bit more than maybe they've had. Fairways and everything should be great. I know that they've done some work on a couple of the fairways there. And, they've added the rock wall there around the creek on 15 and done some other, work on some of the other holes as well. I know, Dave mentioned a couple weeks ago that they've done some work on hole number 8. I think, again, later date for these guys with as much work as I know that they've been doing, bunker renovations and everything, just gives them that much more time in order to try to, get this golf course dialed in and set up the way that they want to have it for this event.
John, we got to get to picks, and we also want to talk about what you have going at Timber Trust, but I want to get this in before I pass this earth. I would like just advanced into my account what has been spent on number 8 at TPC Southwind. I'll take that. That would be better than anything I could ever be bequeathed in my life. At Timber Trust, I know you've got things going well for people down in Olive Branch, and kind of the old Green Acres song, get out of that corporate golf and get down to into the country at Olive Branch for you. I know you've enjoyed it, John, and you got plenty for people to enjoy.
No, absolutely. I mean, the golf course is just continuing to get better and better week in and week out. I mean, we had a group come in today that said that this is potentially as good as they've seen this golf course, in some time, condition-wise, greens, fairways, the whole shooting match. And that's just a testament to what we're ultimately trying to do down here. And, to have Jacob Marsh, our golf course superintendent, just really putting in the work and doing what we need to do to really improve conditions and everything here has just been great. I mean, he has been working diligently since March when he first stepped foot on this property. And, we've got a plan, and we continue to execute that plan. And just can't be happier for the direction that things are going right now. And clearly, this week in particular, I know there's a lot of public golf courses that are airifying greens. We airified 2 weeks ago. So, greens-wise right now, we're in good shape. We've fully recovered. We will be putting a top dressing on, tomorrow morning first thing. But, obviously that'll kind of work its way down in. So golf course-wise coming up, should be in great shape as we continue to move forward. And other folks have been airifying. So, if you're looking to book a tee time for this weekend, Saturday we do have an event. The Highland 100 group is out here on Saturday morning, but Sunday and any time at all through the next week, you can just call us at 662-895-3530 or visit us at timbertrustgolf.com to book your tee time online. So kind of 2 different ways you can do that and come down and experience Timber Trust, experience the fin cycles, and just kind of see what's going on down here in Olive Branch.
Great plan at Timber Trust and great folks down there. And we had a good plan going into this golf year. It was simple. Beat Dave. And he is in last place, and Ted Butler making the picks for him today. Since he was going first and Ted was very busy, Ted has picked with his lock pick. He has taken Justin Rose, and that makes me the second picker. With my lock pick, I will take 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to try Victor Hovland. Drew?
It's not a bad pick. I want to go with the expert pick because that's what got me my win last week. I think anybody, if they would have had first pick, would have taken Bryson DeChambeau. And a lot of people are really high on Patrick Cantlay this week. But I'm going to go my own way. I think he tied for T14 last week. I look for a big week out of Ricky Fowler this week. Give me Ricky.
Kind of the do factor for Ricky Fowler. John, your lock?
Your lock pick, though, last week, Drew, was not overly convincing. It was still the anytime I pick a guy,
that is true,
more likely going to miss the cut. It was this woe.
And he kicked the door down.
Now all of a sudden it was spectacular. It was absolutely the best pick of your life.
I mean, I got to you undersell, overachieve. That's what you got to do, John.
I hear you.
Good plan.
All right, I will take Hideki Matsuyama.
And he loves that golf course. It feels like he will win one of these 2 weeks. He will be a very popular pick next week, regardless of this week's outcome. So back around to shocks. And for Dave, Ted Butler takes 2 weeks in a row. He's trying the old Tennessee Tech product, who had a good tournament last week. T39 won $30,000 for Dave. Scott Stallings with my shock pick. I was going to go back-to-back weeks lock and shock, but the shock's not playing, so no Doc Redman, who won me about $69,000 last week. I'm going to go with another very, very popular amateur player like Doc Redman. I'm going to go with Maverick McNeely.
Not a bad pick. Definitely not going back to JT Poston because he didn't make the cut last week. I'm going to go with 75th in the world, Cameron Champ.
Cameron Champ is a great pick. There are people picking him to win outright. I didn't give McNeely's listing. He's 179. I didn't hear any disagreement from y'all about Maverick McNeely. Scott Stallings still in the 200 range for Ted and Dave. John, your shock?
Well, I'm trying to reverse a trend. I don't think I've had a shock pick make a cut the entire year, so I'm not quite sure whether that's bad picking or just a bad week. Now, granted, it went back-to-back where I had a bad week, and then the guy that I picked the previous week had a spectacular week the following week. But I'm not going to pick Rory Sabatini this week. I don't even know whether he's playing. I will take Cameron Tringali.
Cameron Tringali. I don't know the world ranking, but I think it's 61 and up. I'm not even.
No,
I'm not
nobody
gonna
wants to
look,
jump
John.
on that one. Nobody's going to object to any of that. How about 195, boys?
195 OWGR Cameron Tringali. So Hideki Matsuyama and Cameron Tringali for John, for Dave and Ted, Justin Rose and Scott Stallings. For Drew, the winner last week with Bryson DeChambeau. This week he takes Ricky Fowler and Cameron Champ, and I take Victor Hovland and Maverick McNeely. John, have a great week at Timber Trust. That'll be fun Saturday morning. I would love to hear the record predictions out of that great group Saturday morning. I think it might be something in 0, maybe something in 1, but that'll be a fun gathering with the Highland 100 Saturday morning.
Yeah, we're going to have Coach Silverfield down here, and all the coaches and everybody. So it should be a good event. We'll look forward to having them down, and then get to head to one of your favorite spots right after that Saturday afternoon. Head to Old Waverly for a Lads Cup event or a Lads event down there for a couple of days, and get to go see the folks down there, and look forward to seeing Chris Jester and the boys down in Mossy Oak and Old Waverly. So y'all have a good weekend as well. Appreciate it, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week.
Appreciate it, John.
You got it, John. Be safe. Travel safely. We appreciate it very much. John going with us, talking golf every Wednesday afternoon. And Drew, do you go to Highland 100 events? Are you a member?
I was a member, dude. When I was in school, it was free to current students and I think past alumni. But I haven't been a member for a couple of years. I've been meaning to reestablish my membership, but I definitely need to.
Great group, along with the rebounders and how they have supported that university and those teams through the years. When we come back, we talk the business of sport. Up next with us will be Rick Haro talking sports business.
It's R&R on sports.
The word is out about R&R on sports, where you've heard interviews from Ken Griffith Jr., Dr. J, Hank Aaron, and many, many more. R&R on sports, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m., Sports 56, 87.7, and 96.1. Don't miss us.
Hi, I'm Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Five-Ash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. Five-Ash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I buy houses.
Hi, folks. Jeff Jackson, General Manager at Sunrise Collierville. Thinking about a new or used car or truck and not sure where to get the most for your money? Think no more. Sunrise Collierville's 31st annual tent sale is going on now, with the largest selection of vehicles in the Mid-South to choose from, and factory rebates up to $8,000 and discounts up to $10,000. Bad credit, bankruptcy, slow pay, it's okay. Here at Sunrise, we specialize in secondary financing. If you got a job, you're approved at Sunrise Collierville. The #1 Chevrolet Buick GMC dealership in the Mid-South, the home of the guaranteed credit approval. See us online at sunrisecollierville.com.
The folks at Homer Skelton Hyundai want to say thank you. Thank you, Memphis, for another spectacular year. They set records, but I can understand why. You think about the product. Where else do you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty? That's what you get on every new car at Homer Skelton Hyundai. Oh, and thank you again for the 11th straight year, the #1 certified pre-owned car dealership in all of Memphis. It starts with that product, but then it goes to the shopper assurance. Where else do you go where you get transparent pricing, flexible test drive? Take the car for a couple of days if you want. Streamlined buying process. You're not going to be there all day, in and out. And then, and I have not seen this anywhere else, the 3-day worry-free exchange. You buy a new car, if you've got any buyer's remorse, you've got 3 days to change your mind. Just get on Lamar, take it into Mississippi, the first exit's Craft Road, turn left, and go see Chris True and all the gang at Homer Skelton Hyundai.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Cruising through this second hour, and we do it every week, talking the business of sport with Rick Horrow from the Harvard Law School and also from the NBC family of stations. We love talking with Rick about the ever-changing world of sports, and maybe, Rick, this year, something that you learned a long time in law school that we're all having a first course on, force majeure. It's in all the contracts. It's standard lingo. Nobody reads that far down except for the parties that it's impacting, and it is impacting a lot of people this year. Good afternoon, Rick.
Force what? No, I'm kidding. I learned that many years ago, and it's one of those things that act of God, force majeure, whatever you want to call it, one of those things where you kind of look at it in school and say, nah, it never happens because things are supposed to work out the way they work out. Well, not this year. And so
not this year.
We're not this year. We're on the heels of a historic Ivy League postponement. March 11, I was driving up to Boston to see my daughter, who's at Harvard now, and more to the sports point, watch the semis and finals of the Harvard basketball tournament. Canceled in front of my eyes, called Robin Harris, the executive director of the Council of Trustees, which is basically the commissioner of the Ivy League, and it wasn't her decision. It was the trustees' decision. It was the right thing at the time. And remember, that was the day before the world came to an end, and every basketball, pro, college, Rudy Gobert, everybody. And now she's making, and she is the part of the next decision, which is to not postpone till spring, but to cancel in the winter and then see what happens with the spring being flexible. So we'll see what happens with all of the other college sports.
Rick, what year did you graduate from Harvard Law School? Because I want to ask you, I'll just ask you, never mind the year. Did you have Professor Dershowitz and Tribe teach you?
1932. No. Dershowitz tried to steal my sports law class that I was teaching. He actually, and he remembers this, he argued in a faculty meeting that the course was important enough where it needed to be taught by a full-time professor, not an adjunct. Well, that was a blatant move to get him to do it. And at the end of the day, he was voted down because I was close enough to a lot of the faculty members who said that, why should we let someone else do it? Rick's doing a great job. And Larry Tribe was a debate judge of mine when I debated at Northwestern. He was the coach at Harvard and a debate judge extraordinaire, and got to take constitutional law from him. So nice. I know both of them. And, of course, John Roberts, as I think was my roommate, the Chief Justice.
I did not know that. Are you serious?
Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, you really didn't know that? That's one of the reasons
I did not know
why
that.
I'm able to drive with impunity on the streets. And he was my first squash coach at Harvard. I had a you're going to hear the story anyway, so let me tell you.
We want to.
I didn't know what squash was, and I befriended the then criminal law professor. Everybody had to put a thesis idea together and have it approved. My thesis was about excessive hockey fighting and the criminal law. He said, that's a great one because it doesn't look like it's part of the game, but, it's not law. It's not sports. There's no such thing as sports law. I said, let me tell you what. You and I haven't played before. I know you're a squash player. I'll study up, and if I win, you're going to get me out of all of the normal classes that people need to take, and you'll sanction my paper, and I'll write it as the first sports thesis ever done at Harvard Law School. If you win, I'll shut up. I'll be a normal student. And then I befriended somebody who became a good friend, John Roberts, who taught me squash, and then he was my roommate for 2 years. And by the way, I won in the third game, and that's the way I got to do the thesis. And basically, I would say sports law was born then. That's a little too far afield, but there's some truth to it. And the only piece that I want to add to this is John has become a good friend ever since. And Jim Vornberg, may he rest in peace, who was the dean of the law school. And when we played, he was 82 years old. But who cares?
Wow. Rick Horrow, the world's most interesting man, Rick Horrow. What a great story. And the Chief Justice in the news over a Father's Day fall at Chevy Chase Country Club, and we hope he's okay. The law firm he worked at in Washington, Hogan and Hartson, a venerable veteran, got beat United States Senator from Arkansas that I knew well, J. William Fulbright, did a lot of lobbying for Hogan and Hartson, and I never met Chief Justice Roberts, but they're, as you know, Rick, where their offices are located in Washington, it's right by it's at the foothills of power, isn't it?
Yeah, and by the way, Hogan and Hartson is Chief Justice Roberts is very interesting because he went right to the appeals court and then right to the Supreme Court, and I get to spend time with him because a lot of the Hogan guys and a lot of the other lawyers, they really can't spend a lot of time with him because they argue before him, and there's kind of the disqualification stuff. I'm harmless because all we do is talk sports, so I'm never disqualified from any conversations, which is really good.
And we were talking about squash earlier. Do you play it or do you compete in it? What do you do? Are you playing squash?
You eat it. Oh,
I don't touch this stuff. I can't stand it.
It's vile. It tastes vile, man. Except Halloween, it looks really good to set up next to a pumpkin. You play it. Snobs compete in it. You play it. And I love beating people who say they compete in it because those are the people that you want to squash like a bug, so to speak.
I don't know what y'all talking about with squash. I love it. Put salt, pepper, a little olive oil on it. It's great.
Yeah, how did this get to where it is now? But hey, it's a good conversation.
Rick, you do this to us.
I'll kind of roll it really back in for us. Rick, one of the biggest complaints from the bubble for the restarts with the NBA and the MLS has been the food. Well, what's going on with these leagues spending so much money? Why does it look like they're getting cafeteria lunches from an elementary school?
Yeah, well, because the bubble has some advantages and disadvantages. Maybe the way they need to do it is playing for home field advantage or home court advantage. The highest seed gets the choice of food. Lowest seed gets the choice of schlock. The highest seed gets the Swan, and the lowest seed gets the Disney character hotel with 3.5-foot ceilings. So if the only complaint by the entire NBA establishment is the food sucks, we're going to be okay. Because, you got COVID issues, you got moving people in and out issues, and then baseball, which is looking very carefully at what the NBA bubble looks like, they've got this issue times 32 because they got 32 bubbles they got to work.
Yeah, they do. So far, kind of, I don't want you to I don't want you to have to unnecessarily criticize. In fact, I'll rephrase it. Go to what you think's been really positively done by the NBA, by the NHL, and by baseball in these resumption and restart and try to proceed plans.
Well, let me go further, and I don't have to be, unduly negative or positive. I think everybody's done the best job they can under the circumstances because it evolves every day, and the leadership has really become
every
leadership
day
on this every day. So golf's done the best job of coming back 5 weeks, no crowds, and adapting with the viruses and Nick Watney and the whole thing. We'll see how basketball looks like they're prepared to do their bubble in Orlando, shared with soccer. So we'll see how they deal with the tests. Hockey, looking at Edmonton and Toronto, awarding those cities a moment in the sun, also avoiding the American spike. I think that'll be a good thing. And baseball will overcome its labor issues, hopefully, if they can start on the 24th with Globe Life, their new opening of the Texas Rangers' new facility, and then beyond. So now we go beyond the labor issues for baseball. We get into starting runners on second for extra innings and universal DH. And I'm afraid, I've been saying this all week, and I'm afraid the biggest issue that all of these leagues can do nothing about is the one that may be most important, which is spikes, infections in each city, and how many of the players actually test positive, and what do they do about it? It may be an unfortunate truth that the winners this year in basketball, hockey, soccer, and baseball are the teams that have less COVID.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to get your thought real quick. Obviously, testing is the biggest thing when we talk about battling COVID. Why does it seem that some baseball teams have been able to test better than others and haven't had the big delays?
Access to tests, access to state tests. They've tried to get as many test kits as they possibly could. They're like any other industry. They want to be expedited. And I know, because I know a lot of the administrators and I know a lot of the commissioners, and the most important issue they've had beyond opening protocol is how to get access to the test kits so they can stay one step ahead of the maladies. But I fear they've got some of the same issues that are plaguing the country.
I know right now in sports we're scared about everything. We're fearful of a lot of things, but this one, Rick, I'm really conscious of because I hear it so often from ticket offices around pro and college sports that once that person that's been the longtime ticket buyer, once they become disaffected or disillusioned, or maybe just they've gotten older or money trouble and they can't buy anymore. Once they quit buying, they're done. You hardly ever get them back. The recidivism rate is really narrow. Are you worried about with this long without sports that people could be getting used to and maybe the old I can live without it syndrome setting in?
Well, it depends on what they're living without. I think, it is very clear that the ratings for, NASCAR's up 11%, notwithstanding what the president says. And the other examples of the golf tournaments with the 6.1 rating early on. I'm not sure whether or not we could ever live without sports, but we certainly, God bless me, we certainly can live without going to stadiums because once we get live sports on TV, and then now with movies that have been delayed, prime time will dominate with sports in August, September, October. And then you still have that nagging survey nobody's talking about. 72% of the people who were surveyed 2 months ago said they wouldn't go to a stadium until we had a vaccine. That was before the spike. So I think it's not living without going to stadiums as much as it's I don't feel safe. And that's the biggest issue that architects all over the country and world are trying to resolve by making stadiums feel and actually act safer.
Mm-hmm. And kind of just to piggyback off of that, we've seen a lot of, especially college teams for NFL for upcoming season, go ahead and start selling season tickets and tickets for the upcoming season. Now, unless it's going to be 100%, they're going to have a cutoff and say no. And the way it kind of looks like it's going to be in football, high priority boosters first, and then kind of everybody else. How do universities hold on to those mid-level boosters that they might have to say no to?
Yeah, and there have to be some interim access to facilities and or better content for people who can't get to the stadium but are able maybe to do some extra stuff at home. And that's with the TV networks. We got some time to figure it out. So maybe it's exclusive content. Maybe it's access to the coaches in the locker rooms. Maybe it's some stuff that you don't get when you go to stadiums, but you get them beyond watching in TV at home. It's up to and I don't envy, but it's up to every industry to keep those avid fans from being turned off. By the way, your questions that you're asking right now is the next level once we know that sports is starting, but sports is not starting with fans.
Rick Horrow, thank you for your time today. Always compelling, always interesting, as you are the most interesting man in the world. Thank you, Rick.
Wow, it's interesting. I need to go find a sponsor opportunity for that. If you have one, give me a call. Bye.
We're always looking for them, I can assure you. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah. All right, man. Bye. See you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick Horrow, talking the business of sports with us, and the news from the Ivy League today. Of course, that is having scheduling repercussions all the way down. Now, the Princeton Army or Navy, one of the two, Army or Navy game canceled, obviously, because of the entire season. So their FBS opponents canceled as well. So some teams will be out there on the fly looking for games. And I think the natural thing is if this one over here loses one and this one loses one, y'all need to get together and see if you can make that weekend work.
That seems like the simplest solution is, we've already seen Navy lose one game, and as long as it's regionalized and we're not having to worry about travel like Navy losing its first one last week, then it should work. But the thing through that whole segment that I can't understand, Brett, is how do you not like squash? Squash and zucchini is one of the best vegetable side dishes of all time. I'm just saying, it's delicious.
I don't like many vegetables, Drew. I mean, unless you're tomato vegetable.
Yeah, tomato
is
vegetable.
it? Yes.
Or no, I think it's a fruit.
But I realized after I gave up salt, adding additional salt. If it's in the prepared food, I didn't get that quirky. But I quit touching the salt shaker 10 years ago, 2010, around the golf tournament time, early June that year, and it really did. It helped my feet. It helped some lower extremity pain. No more added salt. And I thought I loved tomatoes. I didn't, Drew. You know what I loved? I loved the salt on the tomatoes. That's what now when I eat even a good fresh, ripened, grown in the backyard tomato, just doesn't taste like it used to. But I tell you something that tastes like it always has, and it's always been great. And that's either commissary, the new Collierville commissary at Houston, Levy, and Poplar, or the original in Germantown, Memphis-style barbecue. You don't have to put any salt on it. It's already great. All the ribs are great, delicious and authentic, and it screams Memphis-style great food at either place. Begin your barbecue feast with some great appetizers like the cheese plate or the tamales or the barbecue nachos, the smoked chicken wings. You can make a meal out of. They are fantastic. Then dig into the ribs or the barbecue shoulder. Get it chopped or pulled on a sandwich, a gigantic sandwich, or you can get it on the side on a plate. Comes with beans, slaw, deviled eggs, bread as well. You can order it by the pound or a 6-pack or an 8-pack or a 12-pack. And at the end of this advertisement, we're going to give away a 6-pack of barbecue to either the Collierville commissary or Germantown commissary. We're going to give one away. The salads are terrific at either commissary, the chicken plate or the barbecue shrimp, the wonderful hot tamales dressed with chili, cheese, and fresh onions, and wrap it all up with the great desserts like the lemon icebox pie, the best I've ever had, and the terrific banana pudding. 901-754-5540, 5540. Online at commissarybarbecue.com in Collierville and Germantown, with the great party areas at the new Collierville Commissary. Plenty of ways to socially distant. Everything safe, everything contactless. Always has been clean as it can be. Maybe even more so now, but it was always very, very, very spotless in both places. Walker Taylor, thank you, and you've done it the right way. 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line. Our first one in at 67129. We've talked a lot, with it coming up in 3 weeks, about the WGC FESJI. This will be the 32nd year. Can you believe that? 32nd year at TPC Southwind. Tell me who won the last year it was played at Colonial. Who won the Memphis PGA Tour stop the last year it was played at Colonial? First one in wins a six-pack of barbecue at the Collierville or Germantown Commissary. 360-8255. The last winner at the golf tournament at Colonial, either on the text line or at the phone line, 67129 at the First Bank phone line, to win a six-pack of barbecue from the commissary. We do that and wrap up hour number 2. When we return, you're listening to Sports Time.
Search Sports 56 on Facebook and give us a like. And follow us on Twitter at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Family Leisure's here to make staying at home more enjoyable for you and your family this summer. Complete pool packages starting at $15.99. 24-foot pools only $19.99. 4-person spas starting at $19.99. Swim spas starting at under $10,000. We are offering contactless purchasing, deliveries, and curbside pickup. Give us a call to schedule an appointment or to place an order. Stay safe with Family Leisure.
Tired of waking up hot and uncomfortable? Start sleeping cool on the Tempur-Breeze by Tempur-Pedic. It's engineered with a revolutionary cooling system that pulls excess heat away from your body to help you sleep deeper all night and wake up more refreshed every morning. During the Tempur-Pedic Summer of Sleep, save $500 on all Tempur-Breeze mattresses and experience your coolest sleep this summer with our best Breeze savings of the year. Learn more at TempurPedic.com.
Napa know-how.
At Napa, we've stopped thinking outside the box. Instead, we're thinking inside the bucket. The $2.99 Napa bucket, to be exact. When you fill those bad boys with auto parts, you can get 20% off 3 or more items that fit inside. No overthinking required. Just get your bucket, fill it up, and save 20%. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores, exclusions apply. May not be combined with other offers. Offer ends 7/31/20.
For 95 years, Saia LTL Freight has hit the road to deliver the goods that keep businesses and communities moving. Now, in this uncertain time, we won't stop going that extra mile, because at the end of the day, we are all in this together for the long haul. Saia LTL Freight, driving stability, safety, support, and strength. Visit Saia.com. That's SAIA.com.
Frontier Western Store is open and ready to serve you for all your needs in boots, apparel, pet food, and more. Frontier is proud to be a local leader here in the Mid-South when it comes to boots. Stop by the store today for an incredible selection of name brand work and dress boots. Come browse aisles and aisles of top quality boots at everyday low prices in our world famous boot showroom. Dan Post, Rocky, Durango, Twisted X, Georgia, Ariat, and many more. There are so many styles, colors, and fits available, you might need a hand picking out your favorites. Luckily, Frontier's knowledgeable sales staff will cheerfully assist you with any questions you have and ensure the proper fit of your new boots. Frontier also has an amazing selection of jeans and shirts by Wrangler, Ariat, and Carhartt, as well as a fully stocked women's boutique department with thousands of tops and dresses at unbelievable prices. New arrivals often. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Gilman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Family owned and operated since 1967.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Thank you, Carl. Dave will be back with us on Monday, and we look forward to it, don't we, Drew? We will. We will look forward to it. And if the golf picks by Ted Butler go right, Dave could be in first place. He's going to have that meteoric rise from last to first. I think he could with the traditional winning of around $1.3 million. It was fun visiting with Rick Haro. If you've listened to Rick through the months with us, over a year, about 14 months now that we've had Rick with us regularly, you can tell very much, and I say this lovingly, Rick does not lack for any confidence, does he, Drew?
No,
but he is a great guy. I promise you. I've been around him a bunch, and Drew, at Super Bowls on Radio Row, he rolls around in big style. I'm sure you can imagine that.
I'm sure he does. There's not a person on this planet that he could say, I know him, and I'd be shocked, because as soon as he mentioned any of those names that he said that he knows personally, I was like, of course you do, Rick. I mean, you're Rick Horo.
Well,
you know everyone and everything.
That business world that he has been in, and out of the Ivy League, again, out of Harvard undergrad, Harvard Law School, it has far-reaching tentacles and connections, and there's a reason why Washington, D.C., and a lot of the courts and a lot of Wall Street are occupied by them. Our texters are good. It's so quickly.
Very quick.
Whomever the phone number is, Carl, with the last three digits of 028, they're the winner. Boy, rapid fire with Jody Mudd. He was the winner of the last time the golf tournament was at Colonial South. The up and down on 17 was the key. He just kind of had to play croquet down 18 fairway to secure victory. But at the top of the hour, Drew, if you need to help Carl with getting with that person.
I'll get them the certificate and everything.
Thank you, and good job, Carl, and thank you, Drew, for that. It was Jody Mudd, and then we went to TPC Southwind in 1989. And, Drew, you know, when you kind of clear through kind of that four-way stop and then the guard shack right there as you're getting closer to the clubhouse,
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
All of that to the left. I mean, everything, far as the eye could see. Open field. There wasn't the first house out there. That's where a lot of the parking was the first couple of tournaments out there. And, I mean, it was already a nice gated subdivision, but much more quaint than it is now. And it has boomed through the years, and year number 32. Hope we're there. If we're not, we'll understand it this year, and I think people will have to be patient by it. Don't you, Drew? I think this year people can understand 2020, man.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should really be upset or that mad if for some reason we don't have fans out of TPC Southwind just because of what's going on, and we're already had to go back from phase 2 to phase 1.5. I don't think being at a golf course among 8,000 people is a part of that plan, so you can understand it.
For sure. When you can understand, we're looking forward to Hour 3 starting next with TJ Reeves.
Farmers Insurance knows that when you're in the car and that song comes on, yes, that's the one, you have no choice but to pull out your imaginary drumsticks and smash those cymbals and stomp on that kick pedal, which unfortunately is the accelerator pedal. And we covered it. Talk to a farmer's agent who knows a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
Call Chad Gatlin at 901-235-1176 or get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Hey, clones, you've heard me talk about Walmart delivery before, but now Walmart has the fastest delivery service yet. Walmart Express Delivery. Get groceries and more delivered from their door to yours with no contact delivery in 2 hours or less. Zero markups. Same low price as in-store. Don't let work, kids, an at-home workout, or whatever else life throws at you right now get in the way of getting what you need when you need it. Try Walmart Express Delivery today. Restrictions and fees do apply.
Great news, sports fans. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse is now open for dine-in service. Make a reservation and enjoy a mouth-watering steak dinner. Or, if you prefer, take it curbside. In addition to their fantastic steaks, the Butcher Shop Steakhouse has a variety of entrees, including Canadian lobster tail, crab stuffed shrimp, pan-seared red snapper, and fresh ground steak burger with portobello mushroom sauce. Planning to cook out? The Butcher Shop Steakhouse offers a great selection of fresh Angus beef, hand-cut steaks and burgers, lamb chops, Atlantic salmon, and more. Make your reservation for dine-in or pre-order for curbside pickup. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse. Dine in, curbside, and delivery. Plus, enjoy the sizzle of top-quality Butcher Shop steaks on your own grill. Call us at 757-4244 and visit our website, thebutchershop.com, for menus and more. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse, Walnut Grove and Germantown Parkway.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. Is your old energy-guzzling air conditioning system struggling to make it through the summer? As the summer heats up, many old, inefficient air conditioning systems just can't keep up. We know the timing's not always right to replace your air conditioning system. That's why we have air conditioning systems for as low as $79 per month. That's right, replace your old air conditioning system this month for as low as $79 per month with approved credit. And with today's more efficient models, you could be saving money on your utility bill every month. So the next time you have air conditioning problems, call the experts at Conway Services. And you know, with Conway Services, you'll be receiving our award-winning service every time. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric service company at 384-3511. And the first 30 callers with a 10-year-old air conditioning system will come out and inspect it absolutely free.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Third and final hour starts now. Alvin Gentry, the third oldest coach in the NBA and one of the nicest people ever in any sport, in anything you'll ever be around, has been cleared at 65 years young to go to the Orlando bubble. Lionel Hollins, he was not, with some medical issues. He will not be allowed to leave Los Angeles and go down there. So that will be an issue coming up as we get more and more to the restart for the NBA and the start for Major League Baseball. Not just the younger, better health athletes, but also officials, team officials, umpires, and things like that. Country Joe West, he announced he's going to ump in Major League Baseball with some unartful comments, but that's Joe West, who was surprised by that. This hour brought to you every day by DeSoto Auto Sales, where all the cars are test-driven, checked out bumper to bumper, head to toe, and an unlimited inventory down on Goodman Road, 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience on Goodman Road, and you can check out the referrals at the website, DeSotoAutoSales.com, by all the very pleased repeat after repeat after repeat customers. They want you to have the ultimate car experience because they know we're living in a world today that time really matters. You walk in, you find the car you want, test drive that car or a couple cars, credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're gone in less than 45 minutes. In time to do it over your lunch hour or immediately after work. No shortcuts taken at DeSoto Auto Sales. You're treated like family by kind, courteous employees with a laid-back, down-home environment, no high-pressure sales on Goodman Road in DeSoto County. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience in DeSoto County at DeSoto Auto Sales, and we thank them a whole bunch. Thank you so much to all our sponsors and all our listeners that some days have painstakingly stayed with us through this pandemic, and we hope we come out the other side with all, and we get back to sports sooner rather than later. Joining us now, a rock, a staple of our show, and so very kind to us, TJ Reeves joins us as he does each and every Wednesday, a little bit later today. Thank you, TJ. The restarts are out there. The golf world showing the way. I think hockey's got a really good plan. I know people in your market in the Tampa-St. Pete area, they're ready for hockey to get back and maybe raise Lord Stanley's Cup.
Well, first, it's good to be with you guys, and we're all hanging in there right now in July. And, you know, I've said this probably 5 times with you over the course of the pandemic, that we're all wanting sports to come back when it's reasonable. It appears that we're taking all the precautions, so we're getting excited about that. And you're right. I mean, the hockey team here, and I realize Memphis is not a huge hockey market, but the hockey team here was rolling. And in several other markets, the hockey team was rolling for that local team, and everything ground to a halt. In your market, you know, along the same lines, the Grizzlies were in the playoff position, and everybody's getting all excited for playoffs and playoff tickets and playoff money, and we had to stop. And baseball has never gotten started with so much optimism here, and we've been over that ad nauseum on your show here. So the good news is it looks like we're about to get all of that at once, and let's hope that it can get started and get rolling and stay rolling with everything that's happening. But you're right. I mean, I was looking at something today where people are reminding themselves, hey, the Lightning are in great shape for the postseason here when this resumes and how this resumes. And one of their top players was injured, Steven Stamkos, their top goal scorer, and he's now going to be fully healthy post-pandemic here with the resumption, all things being equal. So you're right. In different markets, there's a lot of optimism for the resumption of play, particularly for the NBA and the NHL. And then there's optimism for everybody about the baseball starting up. There's no doubt, guys.
Well, TJ, don't speak for everybody here in Memphis, because I'm all about my Nashville Predators.
Hockey
right?
authority, Drew thinks he is, TJ.
I can't skate worth a lick, but I love watching the Preds play, and they were playing some of their best hockey before we got shut down with COVID-19. But what I want to ask you first off today is, we've heard about the NFL basically coming out with all these precautions that they're going to have fans, and it seems like their only mindset is on having fans. Is that what you're hearing, like that there's really not a plan B without fans?
Well, I don't know, and I keep jokingly saying this. I do work for a team. I don't have any insight into exactly what the Glazers, the Buccaneers owners, the family thinks. They don't have breakfast with me. We don't go over these things. I know enough about this for having done this long enough. They want to have some fans across the board in the NFL if they can make it happen and be socially distanced. For example, you guys may have been talking about this. I haven't heard your show today. But the Baltimore Ravens have basically come out and said they have a plan. They did this today. They have a plan where they hope to have as many as 14,000 instead of 70, 80,000 at a Ravens home game as part of their plan. For others, it may be 15, 20, 25,000. I don't know. Could we get to a point 60 days from now where the NFL says if you can safely social distance, you can have half the capacity? It is ridiculous to think that you can socially distance and have much more than that because you don't have enough room to spread out, obviously. So the hope is to have some fans, but I would say to your audience and to everybody, it's week to week right now on what we can do with fans or not have fans. It is interesting that the NFL is the one that's going to maybe have the litmus test here of the fans, because clearly baseball, the resumption of hockey, the resumption of basketball is going to do this without anybody there. And so the NFL will be the first ones that try it out, it looks like, with having some fans there. Then again, Roger Goodell, the doctors, all the teams and the owners may decide we're not able to. That doesn't have to be decided right now on July the 8th. You can go through July and still try to figure this out on when, where, and how, and if fans can be present. And I think it will be a week-to-week thing, Drew.
All right, I'm going to throw you a softball. It comes off a little bit like it's not a softball, but it really is. I threw this yesterday at Gabe Kuhn, who produced for us yesterday, and at Drew Barrett yesterday. All right, young Mr. Patrick Mahomes and all that money, $140 million of it.
Good to be him. By the way, can I interrupt?
Really
good to be him. Pretty good to be him right about now. Yeah, continue.
Very, very good. And I looked it up today. His dad made about $5 or $6 million pitching in Major League Baseball in the 90s. That wasn't bad coin then, but it ain't $140 million. TJ, how would you invest that money?
That's a great question because they always used to say invest in real estate, right?
No. Softball.
Companies.
This is easy.
Yeah, you never know. He could
passbook savings account.
He could practically he could practically buy his own team, or at least controlling interest in a team coming up. So yeah, it's an amazing deal. Most of it is guaranteed. He's obviously the next big contract after we've seen the likes of Aaron Rodgers and Matt Ryan and some others recently getting the big contract and. And we can relate it here in a second to the Bucs deciding not to do that with Jameis Winston. What are the Cowboys going to do with Dak Prescott? But this guy delivered the goods. This guy was winning playoff games 2 years ago and then won playoff games this past 2019 season and won the Super Bowl. And what the Chiefs are looking at is if we can get, as ridiculous as this sounds, it is absolutely ridiculous on the front end to say this, but if we can get him at only $35 million a year, how ridiculous does that sound?
2020, man.
Maybe in 2025, in 2027, it looks like a bargain that it's only $35 million a year with the salary cap going up. So that's part of their motivation, obviously.
It is just crazy money that is being thrown out there nowadays. Brett says that his dad only made $5 to $9 million in Major League Baseball, and that's literally a game, one game to his son Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's just crazy to really think about. But last week, I believe when we talked to you, they were being reported that we're going down to 2 preseason games. Now, this week, it's being reported that we're just going to scrap the preseason altogether. Do you like the idea of if we're not going to do all 4, just to do none at all, just to have more safety?
Well, let's be clear on a couple of things because you were bringing up that report from last week, and there have been a couple of different reports from national media types, Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, and a couple of others that put the report out there. You notice the NFL has never confirmed that.
That is
true. Teams have never said that as of yet. And the other point that you're bringing up is the Players Association met and said it is their preference that they don't want to play any of these games because they need the extra time to practice. Again, same answer. You haven't heard the NFL and the owners say we're not going to have a preseason. Take it a week at a time. I mean, you played, Drew, so you can speak to this more. But in terms of the professional athletes, it's even more at this point heightened that they work out all year round together, and they haven't had that and haven't done that here in this off season with the OTAs, mini camps, being able to be at the facility, work with their coaches. They haven't had that. So part of their concern is we have missed all these weeks and months of time. We have got to get acclimated as well as get in shape to have a better product and to not be seriously injured right away in the first couple of games. And, oh, by the way, if we are going to get seriously injured, it needs to be in a regular season game where our money is guaranteed and et cetera, et cetera. So I understand what the concerns are. I'm not in the middle of deciding it. I'm just pointing out again, the NFL hasn't confirmed lessened preseason games, much less no preseason. Let's go a week or two at a time here and see what happens.
TJ, for Buccaneers fans, and at the high point, you saw some things that really were amazing. And on draft night, the year he came out, having won a Heisman Trophy, having won a national championship at FSU, that with some breaks and some better play, this could be Jameis Winston getting this deal. Instead, he's kind of starting over in New Orleans.
it's a great comparison because he was the number one overall pick, and he was franchise tagged last year in Tampa Bay, making $21 million. And so the great debate was if he flourished. Remember, if you guys asked me this once, you asked me it 5 times last year. If Bruce Arians can fix him, he's going to cash in big time. The problem is, and I think it remains out there, it doesn't look like he's fixable with the interceptions. Because if Bruce Arians and the offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich couldn't fix him, then I don't know that it is fixable 5 years in. Even you go back to his final year at Florida State, the turnovers were everywhere. They were just able to overcome it. They had better talent than most of the teams they were playing, and they were able to overcome it. So he goes from all of the talk during last season that if he could succeed, he would be looking at something not necessarily 10 years like Mahomes and up to $500 million, $400 million, whatever. But he was looking at the real possibility of being a $180 million quarterback, $30 million a year, 6 years, something like that. And to go from that to have the struggles that he had down the stretch of the season with interceptions, the Bucs finished with a losing record, missed the playoffs, and Jameis Winston not only is not re-signed in Tampa Bay, but the best he can get is $1 million base salary backup job with the New Orleans Saints, which is what he got after a few weeks of free agency. That's what he chose to do. That's amazing. That is amazing. But welcome to the reality of the NFL and how the money works. And what have you done for me lately? And if you don't perform, you go from pushing a piece of paper across the table that says 6 years, $180 million, to getting a piece of paper back that says $1 million for 2020. How about that?
Yeah, it is crazy to think of the difference, but. Like you said, Jameis kind of only waited around in free agency for a couple weeks. Do you think if he would have waited longer that he would have gotten more consideration for that spot in New England that Cam just signed for basically the same amount of money?
It's a good point. And there was a lot of talk that when Brady signed here that might be what Bill Belichick ended up doing. And I don't know. They probably did have some conversations privately, New England, with his agent. And with Jameis, and with Cam Newton simultaneously, and there may have been a couple of other guys that they were looking at, and the Patriots decided to do what they did. I think ultimately here, and I know this from having been around him, he is such a competitor, and there are obviously still a lot of people in this market that believe that he will succeed. A lot of them are Florida State fans, that he will succeed. He's looking at this as getting mentored by Drew Brees, by Sean Payton, and where is the best opportunity to succeed, and what happens if something happens to Drew Brees? Look at Teddy Bridgewater a year ago, waiting in the wings as the backup, and how he excelled and basically cashed in with a huge deal the following year. Bridgewater now to the Carolina Panthers. That's Jameis's mentality right now. Get in there in the meeting room with Peyton, with Brees, get out on the practice field with them, fade into the background where nobody's talking about your interceptions and your past problems. Wait for your opportunity and see if you can cash in down the road, guys.
TJ, we were talking yesterday. They will forever be linked with just one, but we feel like they could have more. Heck, they could be going for the three-peat this year with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes duo in Kansas City. Hank Stram link forever with Lenny Dawson, if for no other reason, being mic'd up for Super Bowl IV down at Tulane Stadium. But a coach and a quarterback with big success, they are linked. And Drew, we didn't go here, and I want to now. We've talked Super Bowl winning coach quarterback combo. What's kind of the worst Super Bowl winning coach quarterback combo? Drew, it might be Billick Dilfer.
That was the first one that came to mind, and I think while
and that was a defensive team.
Yeah, that was a defensive team. I think Billick was a great coach for Baltimore, but I mean, the only person who thinks Trent Dilfer was a great quarterback is Trent Dilfer, and possibly his mother.
And TJ, you know Trent Dilfer well.
I will stand up for him a little bit on a Wednesday afternoon because he obviously played here in Tampa Bay for the first 6 years of his career. He is a fantastic guy to deal with. He is now coaching private high school football, one of the top, and Brett and Drew, you may know the name, and I don't know the name, in the Nashville area, one of the powerhouse private school football programs because he wants to teach, he wants to mentor, but he would be the first one to admit that he doesn't have the arm talent, the skill, the resume that the great quarterbacks do. He would never consider himself great, but he did win a Super Bowl. You're right.
Did.
They propped him up, and they got there. I mean, some could argue as fearsome as that Bears defense was in the 80s. I know we're going to the Wayback Machine. Jim McMahon was an average NFL quarterback at best. He was gutsy. He would risk his body. He was tough. He was a leader. But in terms of passing stats, I mean, and he had a constant feud with Mike Ditka about everything as the head coach. So that's another interesting one to bring up on your topic about.
Here's one that we can only bring up in his absence. I wouldn't dare say it to his face; it would crush him, and he may throw a right hook at me. Although he's not a violent person whatsoever. How great was Mike Ditka as a head coach?
But they won, and they won the ring, and he had a lot of success in Chicago in the 80s, and he was obviously a tremendous player. I mean, you're just talking about
But he wasn't
coaching.
Parcells. He wasn't Tom Landry.
Correct.
He wasn't Joe Gibbs.
He went to New Orleans, and they were a disaster later in his career trying to coach them, and he traded the whole draft one year for Ricky Williams, the running back, one year. So you're right. But, I mean, you could I just thought of this, too. Early 80s again. Don Shula got to a Super Bowl with David Woodley as his
Woodley from
David
LSU.
Woodley as his quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Not Dan Marino, but the late
But
David
that's
Woodley.
getting there. That's not winning it. That's not putting the ribbon
correct.
around it.
That's correct.
I mean, Lovie Smith got there with Rex Grossman.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Lovie Smith there with Rex Grossman while you're just banging on Wolo's Bears in his absence. But,
Well, we are. Sorry, Dave. We shouldn't have done it. This really is beneath us, Drew. This is live radio, off the rails for sure.
We took
to
a
do
lot
our
of
friend
shots
Dave
at Mitch
like
Mitchell
this
yesterday too.
Oh,
and keep in mind, we'll just bring it around to some other ones. John Fox is there with Jake Delhomme against the Patriots for the Carolina Panthers. So again, that's not winning it. But that's guys getting there. Some would look at John Gruden and Brad Johnson. Brad Johnson, again, I know him personally. I obviously know John very well. Brad Johnson, a good, not great quarterback, but he's got a ring. He's got a ring because the Bucs put it all together, and it was in large part because of the defense, guys.
Yeah, I mean, you throw that big Super Bowl ring, and they look like door jams. I mean, you throw that in somebody's face. I mean, that shuts the argument up, doesn't it?
Hey, all I know, back to the Dilfer example, I'm like Howard Cosell. Stats loves when I quote the late Howard Cosell and mimic him and imitate him. I remember because I was there. I was there for the Super Bowl win over the Giants when they destroyed them. Trent Dilfer coming back into Raymond James Stadium, where the Super Bowl is slated to be played this February, against the Giants in the stadium where the Bucs used to play. And I still remember in the first half of the game, he completed a long one to Brandon Stokely, the receiver for the Ravens, right in the end zone where our media section was for a touchdown. And I looked at numerous guys around me and went, here we go again with the ghost of Doug Williams, the ghost of Steve Young. Pick one for the ex-Buccaneer quarterbacks of the Super Bowl. And this one's in Tampa. That Dilfer's going to get to hold up the trophy and have a ring with the Ravens. He has a ring. So there you go.
Yeah, I just looked it up. TJ, the high school he's coaching at is actually Lipscomb Academy up in Nashville.
Yes, and they are a powerhouse team. You know, what's interesting about that situation, he admits, I was never looking to be a coach, much less a high school coach, but who turned him on to it was Matt Hasselbeck, because Matt Hasselbeck had played for the Titans, and I guess one of his kids had been at that school. They were leaning on Hasselbeck about, can you help us find a coach in the region, the area, maybe a college coach? And because of his relationship on TV in ESPN studio days and playing days with Dilfer, he kept leaning on Dilfer and saying, you need to help them try to find a coach. And eventually they turned to him and said, hey, would you be interested in this? And Trent moved and obviously moved his family. His children are now older. But moved a couple of years ago to that area, to the Nashville area, to be a coach. And he's the first one to admit, I did not envision myself being a high school football coach, much less in the Nashville, greater Nashville, Tennessee area. How about that?
It's a good story. TJ, great stuff. As always with you, thank you. We'll do it again next week. Dave will be back, and we will have to apologize for just really.
No, we don't. We don't have to apologize.
Not too much. Hey, one more plug. I always love getting to plug the Three Dog Thursday podcast. We'll be out again tomorrow.
Yes.
Brad did a great job on the show last week.
Thank you, TJ.
We got a fun show tomorrow that is going to be out on the podcast, wherever you find podcasts. I cannot promise that the story is good as the Bobby Bonilla story from last week. Bobby Bo, TJ, and the U.S. Marshals and a federal fugitive. But find the Three Dog Thursday podcast for me on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever you have podcasts. Download it, catch it. Thank you for the plug, boys. You guys be well.
Thanks,
you
TJ.
got it, TJ. We will retweet it and we will listen because we love you. Thank you, TJ.
See you, boys.
You got it. TJ Reeves with us every Wednesday afternoon. Drew, why do we do that to Super Bowl winning quarterbacks? Why do we got to do that to Brad Johnson? Why do we have to do that to Trent Dilfer? Some even still want to do it to Joe Flacco. Some still want to do it a little bit after 2 to Eli Manning. Why do we have to do that?
I don't know. I think Joe Flacco and Eli Manning are in different categories, and I don't think Eli Manning and Joe Flacco are in the same category. I think Eli would be a step above Joe. I thought Joe was a great quarterback for my Baltimore Ravens for a good 7-8 years, and ultimately kind of fell off there at the end. Now has had some injury trouble. Now at the backup he was in Denver last year. He just got signed somewhere else, but as a backup, it's still somebody who can contribute, can teach these younger guys. But when it comes to Trent Dilfer and other players like that, they were good. They were good in it. I don't want to be mean by saying they were just good enough to be starting quarterbacks because they're still one of 32 starting quarterbacks.
We're still doing it though, right?
But when you look at that Ravens team, it's not.
Jim Plunkett did it twice.
It's the defense. It's that running game. Mm-hmm. It's everything else that goes into a football team to where he's not.
I don't know that Jim McMahon did that much, but he didn't cost them.
No, that's true. Trent Dilfer did not cost us a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Brad Johnson didn't cost them a Super Bowl either.
And we're really not as myopic to college winning national championship quarterbacks. And I'll give you an example. We're getting ready to have our top 10 college football coaches for heading into the 2020 season. Unless you're an Alabama fan, can you name all those national championship winning quarterbacks at Alabama? And I bet you a lot of people would omit, would forget, would just pass by Jake Coker.
He wasn't one of the first two off the top of my head. First ones off the top of my head were Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts was on the team.
McElroy.
AJ McCarron, McElroy, and the buck stops there.
Yeah, and if the proverbial autograph stands we set up, if you set up this football season on a Saturday morning, autograph stand on the north end of Bryant-Denny Stadium with A.J. McCarron and an autograph stand on the south end of Bryant-Denny Stadium with Jake Coker, I think we know where the crowd would go. And A.J. McCarron had a lot of records too, but both did win a national championship.
Yeah, they did. I think the crowd definitely
McCarron too.
Yeah, McCarron would have the longer table just because I believe – I can't remember if he was a finalist in New York for the Heisman at least once.
Yes, he was.
So at least he was a Heisman finalist, and that kind of says something. But for the rest of them, I mean, they were pretty much just prototypical system quarterbacks that had great running backs behind them that won Heismans.
But Bama was not going to win that national championship without the steady hand of Jake Coker. It showed it coming out of the Ole Miss loss in that season. They needed him to step up and be the guy, and he did. But often, I don't know that we're cruel, but I don't know that we're kind enough to that champion quarterback. When we come back. Yeah, giving enough credit. I mean, and kind of the easy thing to do, go to sports talk radio and be maybe a little too exact, a little too circumspect, maybe a little bit too myopic on people. And I don't want to be that guy. And if we did to Trent Dilfer, and TJ are friends, I knew as soon as I said it, it was going to come out wrong.
And
we come back
3 hours up north of us. He could have hurt us, and I feel sorry. I'm sorry, Trent.
Yeah,
thanks for the Super Bowl rant.
Man, I am too, Trent. Will you take my apology? I mean, I really, if I offended you, that apology, if I offended you. When we come back, we hope we don't offend. We hope to elucidate on the top 10 college football coaches going into this year for 2020 in college football. That's next.
Spend your lunch with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 middays, delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Napa Know
At Napa, we've stopped thinking outside the box. Instead, we're thinking inside the bucket. The $2.99 Napa bucket to be exact. When you fill those bad boys with auto parts, you can get 20% off 3 or more items that fit inside. No overthinking required. Just get your bucket, fill it up, and save 20%. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores, exclusions apply. May not be combined with other offers. Offer ends 7/31/20.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. Have you noticed your air conditioning system struggling to keep up this summer? It may just need a tune-up. Good news, it's super tune-up time at Conway Services. We'll come out and perform our exclusive 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-up on your air conditioning system for only $69 with a free on-leak check. That's right, Conway Services exclusive 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-up for only $69 with a free on-leak check. We'll remove years of dirt, grime, and leaves from your air conditioning system. It's like taking your air conditioner to a car wash, all for only $69. If you have an air conditioner that leaks Freon every year, with Conway Services Super Tune-up, we'll include a free leak check. If that's not enough, we'll treat your unit with a special Teflon coating to help protect against the hot Memphis sun. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric service company at 384-3511. And call this week, and we'll do your super tune-up for only $57.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Ugh, my stomach.
Don't worry, I got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's now in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And now you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Let me try it.
Try new Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
As you get back to business, small things can make a big difference. Like marking safe distances with floor tape and posting reminders to wash hands. As always, Grainger is here to help, offering supplies and solutions for every industry. Free access to product specialists, 24/7 support, safety recovery guides, and more. It's part of our commitment to help you adapt and recover in these challenging times. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, this is Rob Brown. Join Pete Cordelli and me for Sidelines, Saturday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. on Sports 56, 87.7, and 96.1 FM. We'll cover the Memphis Tigers, the SEC, recruiting. Hey, if they keep score, we're covering it. Check us out on the website at sports56whbq.com and sidelines.live. Sidelines is brought to you by Duncan Williams Asset Management. Saturday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. Get up and give us a call.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Thank you, Carl. One thing from the Big Ten, Tom Dienhart, that covers the Big Ten for goldandblack.com. I didn't know where he was now, but he knows the Big Ten well. He is reporting 10-game Big Ten only schedule seems likely for 2020. 10 games, that's one more than they normally play conference. Big Ten only schedule. And you know what that impacts, Drew? That impacts week 2 and the Memphis Tigers going to West Lafayette to play the Boilermakers of Purdue. So that would leave a opening potentially in a Tiger football schedule that we will go over Friday at 5:30. We're going to go over the schedule that's in front of us right now. I don't know that we can speculate who that might be filled in by.
No, I think we can. And while it's still just being reported as the most likely, I couldn't agree with the man more. I think that is where we're headed. I think we're headed to 10-game non-conference, all-conference schedule to keep it as
maybe even less
to keep it as regionally as we possibly can, because we are seeing so many cancellations of non-conference games due to the length of travel and going into hot spots or coming from a hot spot that it's just not safe for these players. So I think we're eventually going to see an 8 to 10 game schedule, all conference, but it's not what I want. Of course not. I've been planning for over a year to be in West Lafayette, Indiana for the Purdue game. I've been really, really looking forward to it for a couple of years. So hopefully they're able to reschedule, and I'll get to do it at a later date.
And I wanted to hear about that experience because I hear it's just a beautiful place. I've never been to the state of Indiana, much less West Lafayette or anywhere else in Indiana, and I've never seen Purdue play in person. They came to the AutoZone Liberty Bowl in the late 70s, and it was a Saturday afternoon game, and that Friday night was kind of a Christmas formal event, affair like that, and I went to it and obliterated curfew. And the AutoZone Liberty Bowl the next day was my punishment. No game for me.
That's
so I missed seeing Purdue. It was. Well, I probably should have thought about that when I egregiously violated curfew. I also want to let you know, Drew, a little inside business here. I don't know why, because it has worked marvelously through the last few weeks, but my equipment has been wanting to bounce around a little bit over there. Have you been able to tell it?
It's glitched a little bit in the first hour where normal, and we've had maybe just half a second of a glitch in hour two, but through hour number 3 here, you've been perfectly good on my end.
I'd be prepared to take the ball and run with it. And in the fall of 1992, my first year, I'll never forget it. It was, I'm going to say I started in September. I'm going to say it was late October, maybe November. And Paul Hartledge was gone, maybe with the Tiger basketball team, but I know he was gone with either Tiger football or basketball. And George, in his inimitable style, he said, "You think you can handle it by yourself?" I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "Well, good luck. I'll see you." He got up and walked out. I thought, well, we'll see if I can or if I can't. And also the good side of that, he said he listened all the way home and was ready to speed dial in or turn around if he thought I was hung out to dry. But in that style, can you hear him saying it?
Oh, I definitely can. It's hear him making that "it's time to sink or swim" type of statement.
That was it. All right, our top 10 coaches for college football this year. I think we're going to have unanimity at 1 or 2, maybe a little difference in the spot. But if they haven't separated themselves to be 1 and 2, I don't know how they can if they haven't. Number 1 for me, I have Nick Saban in those national championships. And in the last 2 years, while Alabama fans not deeply disappointed, but they only have lost 3 times, once 2 years ago and twice last year. So number 1 for me, Nick Saban on top, and it may never be rivaled what he has done both at LSU and at Alabama and in stops before that at Toledo and Michigan State. But what he's done in the SEC, the most influential SEC hire in the history of the Southeastern Conference, for LSU to go out of this area, for someone that, as we all said back then, he doesn't look like us, he doesn't sound like us, he doesn't know us. Well, I think he adapted pretty well in a landmark hiring for LSU then and by Mal Moore in 2007 to get him from the Dolphins. Number 2, Dabo Swinney, who played at Alabama and is coached at Clemson. He is the Nick Saban of Clemson football. He's the biggest figure in the history of Clemson football, bigger than Frank Howard, he of Howard's Rock, bigger than Danny Ford, bigger than any individual player, because the players come and they go, they change, but Dabo Swinney, he has stayed. Number 3 for me, I think we'll probably have a little difference here. 33 wins the last 3 years, and what he has accomplished with really his job in jeopardy a time or two. Some things mostly on the field, but also in the handling of one issue, but he's managed to manage it and thrive, and that's it. Notre Dame, Brian Kelly, number 3. I am big on Notre Dame. I will admit that going into 2020. I plead guilty, right?
I guess so. I've got Brian Kelly on my list. I considered putting him a little high, but I've got him in the top 5. So I think he's on anybody's list as well as he's done in Notre Dame. I mean, what is he, a season or 2 away from being the winningest coach in Notre Dame history?
Yeah, he could even do it this year with a great run. It would be 15-0, and I think he would pass Newt Rockne as the winningest coach all time at Notre Dame. I mean, if you're just being mentioned in the same sentence of Rockne and Parsegian and Lay and Holtz, you've done pretty well. I have him number 3. I know LSU fans are going, "You're crazy. Where's Ed Orgeron?" I don't even have him 4. I'm getting to him, but number 4, I have Lincoln Riley. Terrific job at Oklahoma, those Heisman Trophy winners, those offenses, but that defense. You got to play both sides of it. Number 5, Ed Orgeron. Ed Orgeron, number 5. I don't know. I didn't think I would ever do that at any time he was at Ole Miss. I didn't think I would do it at any time when he was interim at other places, but he's earned it. Number 5, Ed Orgeron. Number 6, Dan Mullen. Number 7, Mario Cristobal. Number 8, Kirby Smart. Number 9, just 1 year. I think he will win big. It might be different a year from now when we do this list, but Ryan Day at Ohio State. And number 10, I know it slipped a little the last few years, but that body of work, all those different conferences, and for him to be the legendary coach all time at this school, Gary Patterson at TCU.
Great list. I have a lot of the same guys. I've definitely got Gary Patterson on my list. I mean, you can't have a top 10 coaching list without Gary Patterson. Just based on what he's done at TCU, has had opportunities to go to bigger programs, decided to stay, and wanted to really build and be the quote unquote statue guy there at TCU, and he's done a phenomenal job.
He accomplished it.
He really did. My number 1, of course, Nick Saban. 2, Dabo Swinney. I do have Lincoln Riley at number 3, just due to the fact that 3 straight college football playoff appearances, hasn't been able to get over the hump. But when you do that back-to-back years, I know. But the thing is, nobody in the Big 12 plays defense, so he doesn't have to. When nobody else does
it. Well, you do when you get to the semifinals.
Then that's where it really bites you in the butt. And hopefully Lincoln Riley and Boomer Sooner out there, they can fix that. At 4, I've got Kirby Smart for the great job that he's done at Georgia. 5, I have Brian Kelly, Notre Dame. 6, Dan Mullen at Florida for not only what he's done.
We both have Dan Mullen, 6. Wow. Mm-hmm.
Not only what he's done at Florida, but the incredible job that he did at State. 7, I've got Gary Patterson. 8, I have Jimmy Franklin from Penn State. I think he's on the up and up. If you can do what he did at Vanderbilt and then continue that at Penn State, a program that could possibly want to be one of the lowest of all lows in college football after what had happened there after Joe Pa. At 9, this is the one thing that I've really struggled. I've made up a list of about 20 different coaches that I thought I could honestly make an argument for that could be in this top 10 list. I ended up settling at number 9. I settled with Jimbo Fisher just due to the fact that he's such a great coach at Florida State, won a national championship, got paid, went to Texas A&M, has done a good job, hasn't done the best job at A&M, only 1-7 against top 10 programs, but should, and as much of my eggs as I put in the Kellen Mond basket this week and last week, I think I got to keep adding more.
You and Davey Cobb.
I got to keep
adding. You and Davey Cobb. You and Davey Cobb are going to be able to have the victory dance, spike the ball at my feet if it works out well. But if not, the old man's going to say, I told you so.
Oh, I know you will, but I've got to keep putting my eggs in Kellen Mond's basket, and that means putting them in the basket of his head coach in Jimbo Fisher. And at number 10, really, I didn't want to do it. Gabe really talked me into it. Told me I would look silly if I didn't have him. I've got Ryan Day at Ohio State, and the reason why I really didn't want to do it is I only have 1 year to work off of. Show me again. Show me you can do it again. And I know you see that I'm missing Ed O on this list. I need Ed Orgeron to show me you can do it without Joe Burrow, without Joe Brady there right by your side. Show me this year that you can continue that success at LSU, and I promise you I'll put you in the top 5 this time next year.
I know where you're coming from for sure on Ryan Day, and even to a degree on Ed Orgeron. My glaring omission, it is James Franklin at Penn State. I really wrestle whether he would be 10 or not, and good job at Vanderbilt, and he's won everything but a college football playoff game. He's even won the Big Ten and didn't get into the college football playoff that celebrated year. It took a long time, and it was too long, and a lot of heartbreak and some years that they didn't get the right side of the voting. It took a long time for Joe Paterno to finally get his first national championship at Penn State. It was 1982 after a regular season loss in Tuscaloosa to Alabama before Joe Paterno won his first national championship. It took a while for him to get it. Then he got another one just a few years later and finished with the 2. But he was on the wrong side of a lot of voting back then when we didn't have the clarity that we have right now. This system right now, it still is flawed. There's never going to be a perfect system, but I do think there's more clarity. I didn't say I prefer it, but there's more clarity now to the whole UPI, AP, Lichtenhouse, Grantland Rice, and 4 or 5 different people claiming a national championship every year.
Yeah, there's a lot more clarity of it. There's no more multiple champions in a year, especially when you go back to the 50s, 60s, and even into the 70s and 80s, where you had multiple teams claim titles because of different publications, rankings of those teams. You were able to claim a national championship. I think this is,
and they were legitimate groups that were giving out those titles.
They were. There's nothing wrong with claiming one of those titles, but I do like the fact that now there is no more, especially with the BCS, there is no more leaving it up to the computers. We pick 4 teams. And yes, there's still some people that always thinks they get snubbed at 5 and 6, but you pick 4.
We'll be at 9 and 10. We'll be at 17 and 18 someday.
Exactly. You play it out. Best team wins. And there's one champion, and we can go about our day without having to debate, is the UPI the real champion or the AP champion. We don't actually have to have that debate. There's just one, and then every now and then UCF claims one as well.
Yeah, and UCF claimed one, and that's the difference. I've heard a lot of people, well, Brett, some of those for, you name the team, for Alabama, for Ole Miss, for Arkansas, that they just claimed them. No, they didn't just out of the thin blue sky claim them. Somebody of some repute in those days awarded them that. Central Florida just went out and made a banner and rings.
They did.
Nobody, not the first legitimate or illegitimate college football entity declared Central Florida national champs. And I love Danny White, and I didn't really mind kind of the first 2 or 3 swings at it, but it got a little bit old with it.
And I've actually lost a lot of respect for Danny White since. Just once he claimed the national championship, they had the parade at Disney World. Then it seems like Danny White really got on a high horse, especially with non-conference scheduling, and basically refused to talk to anybody about 2-1s, and could have had a great series with Florida if he just would have done a 2-1 now, and then could have obviously parlayed that into a 1-1 with Miami or Florida State, or just stayed with Florida. Could have started a great SEC AAC rivalry and got too high on his horse and said no.
Yeah, and I thought he was wrong to do that after posturing for years for that, and then when the opportunity presented itself, he turned it down. But now, Danny White, if you wanted to bet on any AD's future over the next 20 years, he could have about any job out there. I don't know what his dream job is, and I got to know Danny pretty well when he worked at the foundation in the athletics department at Ole Miss, and super bright guy, and you knew was going to superstardom, and he's on that trajectory. He might decide, I don't know, to stay and live in Orlando and stay at UCF forever. But whenever the bigger AD jobs open, if he wants it, he can get it. And he didn't hurt himself in the UCF claiming a national championship, and they had fun with it. And they were a really good team, but they weren't the national champion.
No, they weren't. It wasn't even close. I mean, it's just like, what was it, in 2015 when Alabama won the national championship, Memphis could have claimed we were the national champions because we beat Ole Miss and Ole Miss beat Bama. I mean, it's basically the exact same logic.
Yeah, and that is not always the nexus. Just because you did that, how it ends matters. How this day ends, it matters, and it's next. Taco Bell Crunch Time coming up.
Want to get your voice heard? Hit us up on the First Bank phone line or First Bank text line.
Gateway Tire and Service Center has a beautiful new state-of-the-art location at 5275 Summer Avenue. And for July, the new location on Summer has a great special. Buy 3 tires and get the 4th at no charge. Visit the new Gateway Tire and Service Center with 28 bays for quick service, super safe with curbside service or lounge seating 6 feet apart. Check out GatewayTireAndService.com for coupons too. The new Gateway Tire and Service Center, 5275 Summer Avenue. Call Matt for details, 901-683-8335.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Napa know-how.
At Napa, we've stopped thinking outside the box. Instead, we're thinking inside the bucket. The $2.99 Napa bucket, to be exact. When you fill those bad boys with auto parts, you can get 20% off 3 or more items that fit inside. No overthinking required. Just get your bucket, fill it up, and save 20%. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores, exclusions apply. May not be combined with other offers. Offer ends 7/31/20.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy. Come on, how
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! This is for all the biggest crunch time. You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Woo! Woo! Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. True, I learned today that Doug Ferguson of the Associated Press, the distinguished golf writer that he is, he asked the best question to the Ryder Cup officials. Without a vaccine, what's the guarantee of fans and an event next year? So we're going to bet on science. I understand that, but this is a novel virus that for 7 months has had the best flummoxed and is wondering what's next as anything could possibly be. What'd you learn today?
I learned today that Amazon becomes the latest company to announce it will remove Washington Redskins merchandise for sale while the team considers a name change. Amazon is joining Nike, Walmart, Target, and Dick's Sporting Goods among companies to remove the Redskin merchandise. If you are still wanting to actually buy Redskin merchandise before they change the name, it is still available on NFLshop.com.
Also, could have done without this today. Steven Jackson's disgraceful defense of Deshaun Jackson, of his hideous comments. He was defending Hitler and Farrakhan comments, but the entire NFL, they ripped Drew Brees for being pro-American and pro-God, and they have not ripped Deshaun Jackson with the unanimity they did Drew Brees. I think that is very sad.
I think it is.
What is you could have done with that?
Well, I could have definitely done without that, and I could not have said that any better myself. But another thing that I could have done without is that the MLB has now had 66 positive cases of COVID-19. Now, that is 66 out of 3,740 personnel tested, but with the backups and delays in results, I'm sure that number's only going to go up, and it will go up very soon.
You know a little bit something about that as you waited. How long from the test being completed to the results coming to you?
To when I got in line to get the exact test, it took 5.5 hours waiting in line, and then it took about 82 hours to get my results from swab in nose to email on phone.
And you were very responsible at that time. You know, the extreme example, let's say you were negative, thank goodness. But let's say you had been positive, and in the time for taking the test, you're just out living your life, and running around. You could have been super spreader for all we know.
Yeah, I could have, and I'm glad that I did take those precautions because, like I've said multiple times since we've talked about this on Monday, I was more worried about giving it to somebody else than I was about me hurting. I'm a 25, relatively healthy, not that in shape, but relatively healthy 25-year-old. I was not going to die. I had a better chance of being struck by lightning twice than dying from COVID-19, but I did not want to be a spreader, and maybe I didn't give it to the person that died, but they ended up giving it to somebody else, and it just would set off a whole chain reaction that I just didn't want to be a part of.
We'll keep a close eye tonight on a lot, including the golf calendar, as all the calendars are. They're in lightly shaded pencil, nothing in indelible ink. The Ryder Cup with the news day back to odd year like it was before 9/11. President's Cup back to even years. Fanless at the Ryder Cup, it really made no sense. Fanless at a lot of things doesn't make a lot of sense, but we understand why they have to do it. We'll keep an eye on baseball and NBA. We know they're going to be fanless on positives and on testing and on protocol, and we will see if it will be more cancellations and more postponements. What are you watching tonight?
I'm going to be watching all the latest news from MLB, testing sites, NBA, and heck, we do actually still have one game that was not canceled from MLS tonight, so I'll probably keep an eye on that one as well.
We will keep an eye on all of it as it is moving very quickly. Today moved quickly, and we want to thank Carl, great job, and we want to thank Daryl Smith from the golf tournament, John Gowen talking golf with us from Timber Trust, Rick Harrow on the business sport, TJ Reeves on a lot of different subjects, including the NFL tomorrow. Among many others, we will have Keith Smith with us and Tim Doolin talking baseball. And also, Drew, be ready with this, top 10 NBA teams in the Orlando bubble. That's what we will do tomorrow. For Drew, for Carl, for Dave, I'm Brett. Have a great Wednesday night. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.